97 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
It's Football Friday.
Bills Cowboys 425 live Sunday here.
The matchup of the week.
I like the Bills in the game. I like the Bills laying anything under a field goal. Bit of a better spot for Buffalo, and I think the Bills are probably slightly better than Dallas.
I certainly don't love going into like a really desperate Bills team. Like the shoe has to drop at some point. You know, if I had to predict the loss the Cowboys will have over the final 4 weeks, it's this one.
Mike Danger.
When is it going to happen? When's the letdown going to happen? I don't think it happens on Sunday.
Ooh.
I actually think the Bills lose 31-27 for me, so 4-point Cowboys win.
Gene Battaglia.
Yeah, fantastic matchup. One you get every 4 years.
Jackpot, baby! The Chargers fired head coach Brandon Staley.
Tomorrow, 3 standalone NFL games.
The Dodgers and pitcher Tyler Glasnow, a 5-year, $135 million contract.
Buffalo is right back at it against
The Vegas Golden Knights.
Amherst Hockey. 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Oh no. Hearing Nick Costos back the Bills earlier today on Writer Than You here on The Fan Rochester maybe has me second guessing my stance on Sunday's game. We welcome you into the sports bar. It's Danger and Battaglia. Glad you're listening along at 95.7 FM, AM 950, the free-to-download Odyssey app. We've got our live video stream up and running for you at The Fan Rochester on YouTube, at The Fan Rochester on Twitch. You can get us on your smart device when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan, and you can join the show anytime. Pull up a stool, and let's start this weekend off together at 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326.
It's funny, you and I are not movie buffs, but this came across my feed, and you know this scene. And the scene is this. Inches. You know the speech, Inches?
Oh,
Any Given Sunday. Al Pacino. If you watch that, you just get fired up, right?
I might not be a movie buff, like I might, but like that's a movie. That's mandatory viewing if you're a dude. If you like football, that's a mandatory watch. You have to watch that movie.
Yeah, and that speech, holy cow, does that not fire you up? And I'm just putting into Buffalo Bills context, Inches. Yeah, Kadarius Toney by a couple inches. What would have happened had not a couple inches been correct in that game? That I just keep coming back to this Bills-Cowboys matchup. I think they're going to get clocked this week. I'm sorry. I don't see this, folks. Dallas is the superior team. They're more physical, and the Bills are shorthanded on defense. In case you didn't notice, they're going to be down Micah Hyde. They're going to be down A.J. Epinesa. So I'm not so sure that Buffalo is going to not only win this game, but I could see Dallas pulling away late here. I think Buffalo needs this. So does Dallas. Dallas wants the 1 seed. They can't afford a trip up in Buffalo.
Here's the thing. I don't know that Buffalo needs this. That's what's interesting about this game for the Bills. Of course, you want them to win. We all want them to win. But do they need to win to make the postseason? In this instance, they do not. They just need to win their next 2 games. If you lose to Dallas, you've put a little bit of added pressure against a Chargers team that's reeling, that'll have a new interim head coach. We'll get to that in a second. Mm-hmm. And the Patriots. Now, the Patriots, that would be the dicey one, right? Like, the Patriots who beat you in New England earlier this year with Mac Jones, can you get over on them at home to make that Week 18 game? And that's also assuming that Miami loses 2 of their next 3.
Right.
Which is out of your control.
Right. So let's assume, Miami and the Jets, that's a 1 o'clock this week. If Miami wins that game, and look, at best, I think they're favored, right? Even though they're kind of banged up. Right. The division may feel kind of out of reach on Sunday night if you lose to Dallas. But I'd agree with you from that standpoint that the season's not over. You can win your last 3 and back your way in, essentially, and get one of those last wild cards. But I would say the division it'd be hard to imagine winning 3 straight and Miami tripping up 3 times in a row.
So you have the Bills getting clobbered by Dallas. That's more than 10-point win. They're
38-17, I'll say.
Wow. I have them losing 31-27, 4-point loss. And I can't lose that vision in my head of what last week almost looked like. They got the win. and they don't need to apologize for any of that. But we don't know how that last minute and 20 would have gone if that touchdown was upheld, and if they would have lost that game the way that game was going. We would have been having another week this week of what the F are we doing here, guys? Why can't we close a door? Why can't we finish strong? Why can't we put our foot on their neck and close out a game? They got the win. So we don't have those conversations this week. Instead, it's, hey, the Bills have a little bit of momentum. Hey, the Dolphins lost. Hey, the Bills are still in this. And they are. And winning a game on Sunday against Dallas obviously helps their chances of making the postseason immensely. You don't want to lose anything moving forward. But I agree with you. I think that the Cowboys are a better coached team. I think that they have more talent. The only advantage I'll give to the Bills is quarterback. I think Dak is having an MVP season, but I still think Josh Allen is the better of the two quarterbacks.
The forecast has changed slightly here. They were saying rain in the second half. Oh, no. If you're going to this game, be prepared with layers, with a raincoat. They're saying now rain in the early afternoon, and I don't know if you call it a soaker or not, but that could affect things here. You're going to the game. I'd much rather have snow, because when you get wet, get colder, and wind, everything else, just advising everybody that's heading to the game.
So later on this afternoon, for the first time here on the Sports Bar, we're going to talk to one of our Odyssey Cowboys insiders from the Fan in Dallas, 105.3 The Fan in Dallas. Bobby Belt stops by the Sports Bar right around 4:25.
It was funny yesterday. I love RJ Ochoa, his takes, and smart football guy, and respects Buffalo and everything. But he said something. We didn't get to this in the interview yesterday. Like referring to the Cowboys opening night. Remember the Cowboys opening night? They clocked the Giants like, whoa. Kind of a statement came out, and he's like, oh, the Giants, close by you guys. No.
I had a conversation with a coworker today. She's down in Virginia, but she's originally from New York. And when she found out I'm in Rochester, she's like, oh, we got to get together the next time I'm in New York. I'm like, where in New York? Long Island. I'm like, come on. If you're from Long Island, we're nowhere near each other.
No, honestly, Danger, like there are people that get Westchester and Rochester confused. I'm not kidding you. This was somebody for the ESPN golf writer. His name escapes me, but talking about how this golfer who is from, hails from, basically a town in Westchester County, like he's going to have the home court advantage or home field advantage when, the course at Oak Hill. No, Oak Hill is not in Westchester County. I don't know how many times that happens, but that was just something funny. I didn't want to correct the RJ, but like, yeah, no, that's a 5-hour drive. None of us go to a Giant game. No, doesn't happen.
The flight is easy. We can always say that. Well, it's an easy flight, like a good 45-minute hour flight, and you're in New York City. That's nice and easy, but no, not really that close.
Well, like on the other coast, though, like somebody's from Northern California, you don't confuse Northern California and L.A., right? I mean, that's two different.
Right.
They should be two different states.
Yeah, and that's a even longer schlep. I mean, if you want to go from L.A. or Orange County all the way up north to San Francisco, I mean, forget it. That's too long of a drive. You're not tackling that in a day.
Oh, yeah, you're taking that in a day.
Yeah, in a day, yeah, but it's your day.
It's your day. You're not going to the game tonight and then driving back. No.
Right. You could do New York City if you leave early and still drive and still have a good amount of day in front of you if you left early enough. Same with Boston. Boston's a little bit more of a schlep.
I've thought about it. Like, do I want to, the Mets are playing Sunday at 1 o'clock. Do I want to get up at 6 in the morning, go to the game, and then, I don't know, then you're home at like 10, 11 o'clock at night? That's all day. Look, I love my New York sports, but that's a little too much.
I agree with you. Bobby Belt from 105.3 The Fan in Dallas. We'll talk about those elements. It sure seems like that's in their head. If you got the owner of the team go, well, we lucked out. We don't get a snowstorm when we go to Buffalo.
We don't get a blizzard.
Yeah, I mean, come on. It's going to be kind of what you expect it to be for a Western New York December day. Cold, wet, windy. Can you handle that if you're Dallas? We'll get the opinion of Bobby Belt, and we'll talk a little bit about what's made this Cowboys team different this year, because they are playing at a high level right now coming into Buffalo. And later this hour, one of our favorites stops by the Sports Bar, talking about sports director at News 8, Thad Brown, will be stopping by.
Thad, we got to congratulate him, because getting that audio, is that kind of cool? Like when you you're the witness to kind of a story there. And he was the only one who had the audio of Patrick Mahomes being less than congenial toward Josh Allen, still very hot under the collar about whatever perceived non-call there was, and that became a big story. To the fact that, well, like into this week, Wednesday and Thursday, there are Mahomes and Allen both commenting, and really it's a non-story right now. But we'll get the thoughts of Thad Brown in regards to this Cowboys matchup. And look, if I'm wrong here and the Bills get by Dallas, hey, it's all in front of you.
I want to say it's a non-story on Friday when this happened on Sunday, but it's still in my feed. There are still quotes from Kadarius Toney in my feed.
Oh, who cares?
They're still talking about it in Kansas City.
Oh, who cares?
Guys, move on. It's done. It's not changing anything. I mean, to hear Kadarius Toney today, or to see his quotes saying that the officials lied.
They lied to me.
Oh, who cares?
Moving on.
I watched that whole feed. I didn't see anything on the play, but I always think like if you're still talking about whatever on Wednesday, even that's too much. Like Wednesday, you should be looking ahead. It's Friday, and you're absolutely right. I'm looking at Jay Binkley still commenting on this, the Kadarius Toney quote from today. Guys, could the unthinkable happen this week?
It's a lot of loser energy.
Could the unthinkable happen, meaning Kansas City goes into New England and Bill Belichick cooks up something?
It won't be the first time. A lot of loser energy around that team right now as they're looking to get off the schneid here and get their first win in a couple of weeks here. 2-game losing streak for the Chiefs. They're going to New England. You can join us, as we mentioned earlier, 866-4FAN is our phone number, 585-866-4326. I've got a bit of breaking news in the sports bar here, Gino.
Ow! 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 It really hit me. I didn't know it was coming back that far.
The Raiders just scored again. Breaking news in the sports bar. What the hell? I mean, I am down bad when it comes to trying to pick these games, Gino. And I don't know if anybody was fighting me when I said, yeah, the under. That's the play tomorrow, Thursday night, the under. I mean, look at these two teams. The Chargers can't score. They're not going to have a quarterback. The Raiders can't score. They got shut out 3-0 last week to Minnesota. The under is the play. I tuned in with maybe 3 minutes left in the first quarter, I want to say, is when I got home from the band concert. 21-0? What's going on? And then to see the score at 42-0, I'm like, folks, if you want to know what it would take, if you're somebody who thinks that the Bills should move on from Sean McDermott, if you want to know what that looks like, what it would take, it looks like that. That is what a team quitting on their coach looks like. Presented by Amazon.
42-0 at the half.
42-0 at the half. It's almost unfair, but Kaylee Hartung pulls aside Brandon Staley. Hey, what do you have to? Well, we need to be better. I think that was his quote. That wasn't good enough. We need to be better. Really, Coach, genius. And then to hear Pierce say, "Yeah, we got a foot on the gas. We're not going to let up." I mean, that game was chaos. The second highest scoring game by a team in a game since the AFL-NFL merger, the 70 by Miami earlier this season, takes the cake. 63-21, the final. I was joking. I wanted 80. Can we get to 80? I mean, it was 42-0 at halftime. Why not? Why not keep your foot on the gas? And oh, yes, because you couldn't fire him at halftime. You couldn't Vontae Davis him. Brandon Staley and general manager Tom Telesco were fired by the Chargers organization today.
Yeah, which that doesn't happen too often for that organization. The funny last guy was Kevin Gilbride 25 years ago.
Gross.
Yeah. This isn't good for Buffalo. I mean, I want Brandon Staley hanging around. I want a team that quit on their coach. I don't want some interim coach firing up the troops.
Who's that going to be, though? Kellen Moore?
No, they announced it. I didn't even recognize the guy's name.
Oh, it's not Moore?
No, it's not.
Well, it's still going to be Easton Stick at quarterback. That's not great. It's still going to be a team that really doesn't have anything to play for. Guys that are banged up. It's guys that don't know what their future is. Do you know that going into next year, that team is like $42-45 million above the cap? I mean, they've got a lot of tough decisions to get sorted moving forward. Telesco, Brandon Staley out with the Chargers.
Of course. Not a good week, though, for Al. First of all, he finds out he loses his job, right, for calling a game on NBC, and then he gets this. Actually, I thought he was still grouchy, but somewhat diplomatic.
I'll follow your lead. Where do you want to go here?
31 more seconds, huh?
That's what they tell me.
Do they ever get to a point to
if this were Pop Warner, they'd stop the game, right?
Yeah, or keep the just continuous clock. Maybe in the second half.
We're in Vegas. Referee stops contest.
42-0, largest halftime lead in Raiders team history.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was Al and Kirk Herbstreit. And Kirk Herbstreit, what he's saying there is the running clock. Listen. In Section 5, we got the benefit of that. That's a running joke. It happens in boys and girls lacrosse, and when I get to call the game, like with the crew, we get to the running clock. That's what we root for.
Yeah.
We say, and Yahtzee, just the cheesy goal call. We root for Yahtzee. We don't care if Victor Pittsford wins. Honest to God, I don't care. We root for Yahtzee. That's what they needed last night, Danger, a Yahtzee game.
Yeah. 63 points by the Raiders, the most that they've ever scored in the history of their franchise. And just for a team that scored 0 points the week before, for you, the Chargers, to allow that team to drop 63 on you. I mean, I'm surprised he wasn't fired at halftime.
Embarrassing! I appreciate Michael writing in. And I know Michael is somebody that works during the day and downloads the stuff afterward and listens on his own time, which that's always a smart play. So, Michael, thank you. And he's contributing to us here, Danger. In this graphic, most points in a game after being shut out in NFL history. And it came close, like 63 last night, the record, 1934 Philadelphia Eagles against the Cincinnati Reds. Okay, honestly, I had no idea that Cincinnati had a football team prior to the Bengals, much less they were called the baseball team name. 64 points. But on this list, the Rochester Jeffersons giving up 56 points in 1923 to the Rock Island Independents. Danger, there's your proof. We had an NFL team here in Rochester.
That's completely made up. I don't believe everything that I read on the internet. And by the way, where is Rock Island? You're just making that up. That sounds like a magical place. That's not a real place. Rock Island? You're telling me that Rock Island and Rochester both had NFL teams? It's completely fabricated. That isn't real. And stop spreading fake news, Gene. We have a responsibility to this community.
Rock Island is in Illinois. They had a football team, as we did, the Rochester Jeffersons, or the Jeffs, as they were called.
Oh, well, great nickname. You just make that up, too? Name another team that's called the Jeffs. That's not real. Can't be real.
They folded. Like, this is like in the day and age when teams actually went out of business, like a restaurant that wasn't good. The Jeffs were not good. They lost a lot, so they went out of business.
They lost to Rock City? What was it, Rock Island?
Rock Island.
I'd have an easier time believing that Rochester used to be called Rock Island.
We had
Rock City.
Yeah, we had an NBA team. We had a Subway too.
The Subway, I believe, because I can see that. That's physically there. I can see the tunnel. Yeah, that I believe. The NBA team, get out of here with that. Okay, where did they play?
They played both at the Blue Cross Arena, it was called the War Memorial, and the Edgerton Sports Park, which is no longer there.
Yeah, I don't. This a fake arena. There's no arena. You're making it up.
I'm making it up.
Who is alive to see that? Can we get John from Rochester? Can he regale us with a story of his time watching these mythical teams that didn't exist?
I asked my father, did you ever get to go to a Rochester Royals game? He's like, no, I wanted to, but like he was a kid, and by the time they were gone. Linda from Webster joining us here on the show. Hi, Linda.
Hey, Linda.
Hi, gentlemen. Just 3 quick points. One is, finally got a chance to call you on this. I cannot believe Jay Binkley sending you referee conspiracy theories about how he won the game on Sunday. seriously, let's go back to the 13-second and the coin flip and get a screenshot of the referee holding the coin so we can prove our point that we were supposed to win that toss. Okay, first thing. Second thing, Dallas. Listening to Get Up over this past week, and they were talking about how Dak is more confident in the pocket this year, and that's why he's having success, which leads me to think we got to chase him out of the pocket. We got to put our hands up, bat down balls, because CeeDee Lamb is a beast. And so we have to make Dak uncomfortable, just get him out of the pocket and make him, like, run around, because he is not a running quarterback, really. And the third thing about like where we live next door to New York City. When we were on vacation this past summer, we were out west in the Rockies, and we would say where we were from, Rochester, New York, it's east of Buffalo, blah, blah. And they would say, oh, yeah, we've been to New York City. And I said, listen, think about a town that is 6 hours away from where we are right now. That's where we are compared to New York City. And people would be like, so that would just kind of be the geographical reference for them. So anyway, gentlemen, thanks for having me on. Go Bills, go Yahtzee.
Thank you, Linda.
I think Syracuse is guilty of that too, right? Like if you're an outsider, you just assume Syracuse. And smartly, I think the university, when they call themselves New York City's university, like they've branded themselves as that.
I think they're getting away from that. That was like the previous AD, like, you know, New York's team, and like, okay, like for New York State, maybe, but I guess they're still doing that if they're moving a home game down to Yankee Stadium.
Yes, and I think that makes sense, because I think if you're from outside of New York State, you don't know. You could sell anything to somebody that's in the Midwest, like, hey, yeah, Syracuse is a New York City school. It is. Well, not really. I mean, if you're here, you know it's not. But if you're from the outside, you think Syracuse, New York. Oh, yeah. Where's that in relation to New York City? Oh, that's not far. That can't be far. Can't be far. It's a New York City school. They play games at Madison Square Garden. They play games at Yankees. It's got to be a New York City school. Not a New York City school.
My favorite Marshawn Lynch story was when he was drafted by Buffalo, he honestly thought that was just outside of New York. And he got off the plane and realized, wait a second, that is a true story. And like he went to Cal.
Bless
Cal,
his soul.
Smart, right?
Bless his soul. He continues to be a treat.
Bless your heart.
Yeah. All right, let's get to Thad Brown, News 8 sports director. Talk a little bit more about this matchup between the Bills and the Cowboys. Next in the Sports Bar, Danger and Battaglia.
You're listening to the Sports Bar. update.
A.J. Epineza and Micah Hyde both ruled out for Sunday's game against the Cowboys. Wide receiver Steph Diggs on his recent production.
For me personally, I've been trying, but I promise you I've been trying. It's not because of me, you know what I'm saying? But teams are doing a good job. We just got to continue to make plays and, I guess, spread the ball around. We've been winning so far. In a perfect world, I want the ball. I want to have success. And, you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, we winning games. That's what I got to tip my hat to.
It's a 4:25 kickoff this Sunday. We will have the call with the pregame beginning at noon. Thad Brown from News 8 joining us next here in the Sports Bar. It's game 2 of the 3-game road trip for the Amerks tonight. They're in Hartford. Don Stevens will be by at 7 o'clock with the call here on the Fan. Devin Levi expected to get the starting goal tonight for the Buffalo Sabres, who play in Las Vegas. Sabres hockey tonight can be heard at 10 o'clock on 96.5 WCMF. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Top Shelf Sports Talk. You're hanging out in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Well, anytime you're a number one wide receiver, I think that's where one of the places where defensive coordinators start when they game plan as a defensive staff. And so I'm sure that they start with Steph or somewhere thereabouts. So there's obviously an intention to try and take him away or manage what he does for our offense and our team. And, it's hard to do because he's really good. But that's where other people have to get involved and produce as well.
There's Bills head coach Sean McDermott. More on that lack of production from Stephon Diggs here the last couple of weeks. We welcome in Thad Brown, News 8 sports director. I want to talk about that and more with Thad here in the Sports Bar. Thanks for the time, as always, Thad. Can we start with these injuries on the defensive side of the ball? Not like they needed more injuries, but no A.J. Epineza, no Micah Hyde. How do the Bills actually try to improve here on their effort from last week with these two playmakers out of the lineup?
Well, the one I'm most concerned about is actually Taron Johnson, who is nursing an ankle injury, limited in practice this week. And Sean McDermott said today that they would wait and see with him. Now, we may find out in a half an hour that he's good to go, no injury designation, that's fine. But you can't replace what Taron Johnson brings to this defense, both against the pass and against the run. He's so integral to both parts of that, and especially against the Cowboys where, CeeDee Lamb is the number one weapon, but he will line up in the slot a fair amount to where Johnson's their best defensive back right now. Rasul Douglas is really good. He's been a help. But if I got one guy I want to be one-on-one with an elite receiver, right now I want it to be Taron Johnson. If he's not going to play, they don't have a guy to fill that in and to manage the pass defense that way. They would be in a tough spot. So hopefully he plays from the Bills' point of view. And then, improving on what they've been doing. I mean, obviously you can't when you keep having guys go out of the lineup. I think Terrell Dotson's been playing well. I think they've gotten a little more out of him than maybe they expected. Like I said, Douglas has been solid. So there's guys who can make plays, and the big thing is going to have to be up front. They finished that Chiefs game by getting pressure, not sacks, but pressure on Pat Mahomes to affect him, deflect balls, move them around, make them uncomfortable. If they can get that, it'll go a long way on Sunday.
So, Thad, before we hit you with a bunch of questions and get your takes on this coming week, I mean, my gosh, you were a witness to a story. Actually, you got the message out, and great job by you for being right there and that handshake, which was unusual to say the least. I guess I'll just kind of start there. When you're down on the sideline, were you kind of aware that Mahomes, as that last play was happening, those last kneel downs, was blowing a gasket there on the Chiefs sideline?
No, because on the sideline, I'm dialed into the Bills' reaction. That's what I want my camera on. I had no idea he was like that. And the thing that blew me away, and first of all, thanks for the kudos to that. I appreciate it. But the thing that blows me away is, I've been doing this for 23, 24 seasons now, and I've always been fascinated that these men can be amped up to kill each other for 3 hours, and then the moment the game's over, they turn it off, and they're buddies, they're peers. They're a lot of respect for each other. I've always like that human element about the NFL. And not once have I ever seen a player complain to a player on the opposing team about officiating, especially when the player on the opposing team is very likely benefiting from what you're ever complaining about. So that was the thing that blew me away the most. That, and I think that kind of shows you that Mahomes, who's been nothing but classy at every other turn before this, was very likely just so angry he was outside his brain and just didn't comprehend what was going on. Poor Josh Allen, on his half of the interaction, my reaction was that he didn't know what to do. Like, sorry, buddy. I mean, my bad. I mean, what do you want me to say? So it was baffling in a few ways, and again, certainly kind of underlined how just ridiculously angry Mahomes was in that moment.
And for that moment being what it was, I think the way both Allen and Mahomes acted in the days following kind of speak to the level of maturity that they both have and the level of class that they have. Wouldn't you agree?
100%. Yeah. Both guys are just, tip-top human beings from all we can tell and have acted that way at just about every turn. Josh Allen's had his moments, too, where, frustration, anger's gotten the better of him. But, for the most part, these are, two guys that I'm sure the NFL is super happy to be, the faces of the league.
Yeah, Thad, I thought that was like the best we've seen James Cook. I mean, over 100 scrimmage yards there once again. And I guess my question is, can we expect more James Cook? Because it seemed like they didn't trust him down the stretch with only 2 touches there in the last 17 minutes.
Well, some of that was the Bills didn't have many touches in the last 17 minutes in general because they couldn't stay on the field for the most part. But I think with Cook, it's less about him and more about getting him into good positions. Both his big receptions are things that were really well schemed by Joe Brady because, James Cook he came into the league as a guy that was expected to be a receiving threat, and he can be, but he's really not much of a receiver. He's not going to run routes. He's not getting away from any sort of, really legit coverage. You got to scheme him into space and then let him do his thing. And Brady nailed it on a couple of long passes there, the touchdown, and then he had another one, down the sideline for 30. So that's really the thing. Can Joe Brady get James Cook into space to use his athletic ability? Because if you just hand him the ball and say, go do it yourself, that's not him. He's not LaShawn McCoy to where he's going to create space or break tackles. You've got to get him into space. And then once he's there, he's dangerous. So that's the key.
Thad, the guy on the Dallas Cowboys offensive side of the ball that has me the most nervous isn't Dak, it isn't CeeDee Lamb. It's actually their tight end, Jake Ferguson. I mean, we saw what Cincinnati was able to do with their tight ends in their win over the Bills. Travis Kelce was having himself a decent day and usually feasts on the Bills. It's all about finding that soft belly of the zone, and it seems like Ferguson is a tight end who's figured that out here in his time here as a starter this year for the Cowboys. How concerned should Sean McDermott and his defense be given that zone that they like to run and the ability of a tight end like Ferguson to maybe get into those soft spaces there for big yards?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's a significant concern. I think you go back to those other situations with the Bengals, there were so many receiving options. I think the Bills were kind of picking their poison and figured, we're going to let, Drew Sample and Tanner Hudson, if they beat us, whatever. And then they did. And then with this Chiefs game, Kelce didn't have a great day, but the Bills had Rasul Douglas on him. They're employing high-level defensive coverage assets on Kelce. They won't be able to do that in this game because not only is it CeeDee Lamb, but Brandon Cooks is kind of reminding everybody why he used to be a number one receiver. And, they got Michael Gallup. They got guys with speed to burn. So if you're playing Dallas, you can't really focus on the tight end. And, now my fantasy team has been frustrated with Jake Ferguson's production, but he looks like a guy that should be able to do, all the things you'd want from a tight end. So I'm with you. I mean, I don't know if he's more or less of a concern, but if you look at the Dallas passing game and think, well, if we stop CeeDee Lamb, we're good, that's not the answer because they have, even beyond the receivers, Tony Pollard and Dowdle out of the backfield are nasty. So this is a part of the reason why this Dallas offense has been so good.
Thad Brown from News 8 is our guest here as going back to some of those injuries. And, A.J. Epineza, and this was a conversation we were having earlier in the week, Thad, that I look at Epineza and I think, okay, late bloomer, but it's a league that really values that position. Has A.J. Epineza set himself up for such a nice payday that Brandon Beane may not be able to afford him coming up this offseason?
Yeah, possibly. Epineza's production kind of has tailed off a little bit the last few weeks. He continues to get a little bit better. Him and Greg Rousseau are both on kind of the same gradual improvement. You haven't seen giant leaps from year to year, but both guys are, unquestionably a little bit better than they were the year before. And I think with Epineza, one of two things is going to happen in the offseason. Either someone's going to give him a contract that the Bills can't and probably shouldn't match, or he's going to sit in an area where the Bills and everybody else can afford him, and I think he'd probably stay. So I don't think to be honest, I don't think there's an outcome with Epineza that the Bills are frustrated with, because if he gets a deal that they can't afford, it's probably a deal that he's not going to be worth paying to anyway.
What are we hearing about Von Miller, aside from the off-field stuff? I mean, we saw him affect the game somewhat, maybe a little bit more. Kansas City looked like it was maybe his best game so far this season. Is he trending in that direction? What's your take on Von Miller on the field, Thad?
He's been improving every week, but it's so gradual it's hard to see. It's kind of like, watching the shadows move as the sun goes through the sky. You know it's moving, but you can't really tell from one moment to the next that it's different. I really am a little surprised considering how unproductive he's been that the Bills put him back on the field as early as they did. He talked about the fact that normally you need a training camp. Well, I think they should have given him one. I think they should have, let him practice the full 3 weeks. Now, I know, look, he came back to that Jacksonville game when guys were dropping like flies on the defensive line and they needed help. I get that. But he has been, for maybe the first 4 or 5 games about a ghost defensively. And then for the last, 3, 4, 5 weeks, he's been a little bit effective. But, in a spot where if you need a sack or a quarterback pressure late in the game, I have a hard time landing on, Von Miller as one of my top 2 or 3 options on this team. And, he's had the Thursday week, the half bye. He's had the full bye now. And he's got the brace off his knee, which helps. But there has not been a situation where we've seen that large jump. So I think that's what you can expect. Very, very gradual improvement to where, at this pace, if they make a Super Bowl, Von Miller might be 50 or 60% of what you expect, which is, it won't be bad, but it's going to be a disappointment for what they were hoping to get considering what they paid for him.
Thad, true or false, no hedging, okay? If the Bills find a way to beat the Cowboys on Sunday, then Week 18 will be for the AFC East.
I think that's true, and I think it may not even matter if they win this game. I think the Dolphins have enough losable games that they can get themselves down to only one game in front. I mean, if the Bills lose this one, Miami would have to lose 2 of their next 3, but 2 of those 3 are Dallas and Baltimore. So it wouldn't stun me even if the Bills lost this game that would be true. But I'm going to 100% say true if the Bills win.
What have you seen differently out of the offense with Joe Brady? And we noticed last week with the return of Dawson Knox, an increase in 12 personnel that we saw earlier this season. It sure feels like that's something that's being dictated from Sean McDermott, the ability to run more 2 tight end sets.
The thing that I've liked the most from Joe Brady is that you see logical adjustments. And to give you an example, you guys remember the 4th down play in the first half where Josh Allen scrambled for an hour and found Dalton Kincaid, right?
Yeah.
Okay. On that play, the Bills set up with 3 tight ends all to the right. So heavy to the right side of the line. The left side of the line was soft. Well, the Chiefs countered by really stacking that heavy side, almost anticipating a run or a play that direction, and left the left side only a couple defensive linemen over there. And I remember watching that play on film and thinking, wow, that I'd want to run at that, maybe the next time they do it. Well, sure enough, the next possession, the Bills get a 3rd and 1, go with the same formation, the Chiefs react the same way, and Joe Brady runs left for 4 yards. It was the easiest 3rd and 1 conversion you've ever seen. That's the kind of thing that you're seeing on a regular basis with what he's doing. You hear about motion and play action, all these other buzzwords that people want to throw out there as ways to unlock the offense. And not one of those is going to unlock it. But being able to, adjust, learn, develop, change through a game, Brady's done a much better job of that than Ken Dorsey has. And I think it's a big reason why the Bills are succeeding as much as they've had.
Thad Brown from News 8, our guest here in the sports bar as the Bills getting ready for the Cowboys. One question we get a lot, I imagine you get a lot too. What about Leonard Fournette? It's like when do we get playoff Lenny here? Or is it just a matter of the Bills are really happy with what they have at the running back position right now, Thad?
They're happy. And look, Leonard Fournette was on the couch most of the year. This is not the first time the Bills have grabbed a veteran in the hopes of just having him around on the practice squad in case something happens later in the season. But frankly, I don't think Fournette is better than the other 3 guys they have. And keep in mind, Fournette is very limited. All he can really do right now effectively is be a receiver. And when you put him in there, you're taking throws away from Stephon Diggs, away from Dalton Kincaid, away from James Cook. He's not an incredibly better runner. He's one of the worst pass protectors in the NFL. So you're not going to get, he can't play special teams like Ty Johnson can. So there's just not much use for that guy to be on the active roster or on the game day roster when he's going to if he replaces Johnson, then someone else has got to pick up Ty Johnson's special teams duties. If he replaces Latavius Murray, I guess he'd be, the inside short yardage back? He'd probably be good there, but you got a good thing going with Murray right now. So there's just no reason to play him. And I think, people saw the name and figured, he's going to be a big help. I saw Leonard Fournette and thought backup, and I think that's what he's going to be.
Any update on Damian Harris?
None. And I was a little surprised that, the Bills did open the window for Justin Shorter, and a couple of long-term injury guys have come back the last couple of weeks, and we haven't heard a single thing about Damian Harris. And disappointing, too, because I'm a big fan of him. I really thought he was going to be the second-best running back for the Bills. Now, Latavius Murray's been great, and I think it's a big reason why, he's earned the time he's gotten. But Damian Harris is a really talented player. You saw it in training camp. You saw it in preseason a little when he played. And it's just unfortunate that this injury has kept him out as long as it has.
Yeah, speaking of injuries, I mean, we kind of painted a picture, not everybody, but like of Kaiir Elam. My gosh, he must be a bust. What's going on? He can't get on the field. I didn't know he was hurt. A lot of people didn't know. I mean, did the Bills do Kaiir Elam a disservice by not saying, hey, week 1, he's a scratch, but he's not a healthy scratch here?
No, I think they're doing him a service by letting this injury lay out as an excuse why he didn't play well. To me, if you're active and you're on the roster, then you're able to play, because they always say in the NFL, everybody's hurt, but there's a difference between being hurt and injured. And now, look, if he was injured and the Bills left him out there to play for whatever reason, then that's on the Bills. Because if this is a guy that's as ineffective as he was because he's injured, then the Bills mess that up. And usually you don't get that from an NFL team. To me, yeah, he's probably playing hurt. It probably wasn't 100%. But this guy's proven now the last year and a half that he just doesn't work in this Bills system. And to leave it out there like, well, he's hurt, that's why it was a problem, I think is a very convenient reframing of the narrative for a player that really hasn't been effective almost at any other time he's played. So, yeah, maybe when he's 100% healthy, he'll be great. But, as I said, everybody's hurt. So if you have to be 100% to be effective, then you're probably not going to be effective in the NFL.
Thad, when you do the exercise that I like to go through before every game with every matchup, which team has the better coaching, which team has the better quarterback, which team has more talent on their roster, I have a hard time seeing the Bills winning this game on Sunday. And I know it's at home, and I know the Bills have a little bit of momentum here. The Cowboys have a lot to play for as well. What's your projection? How do you see this playing out on Sunday?
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I look at the teams, you start breaking down position groups, and the Cowboys, I think, are better in more position groups. And, I was rewatching the Cowboys-Eagles game, and it just blew me away. I'm like, every single play, there's like 3 stars around the ball. And the Bills have good players, but they don't have, guys at that level. So how do they hang? Now, obviously, they hung with the Eagles, so it's doable. I think really, unless Josh Allen can have the type of ridiculously good game he did against the Eagles, I think it's going to be pretty hard for the Bills to win this game. Now, look, you get turnovers. Maybe the Cowboys have a flat game after a big one against the Eagles. They haven't been great on the road. Their 3 losses have been on the road. All those things are possible. And the Bills are going to hang in this game because Dallas hasn't blown anyone out, other than the terrible teams they've played. So you make a few plays late, you can steal it. But, Dallas seems a solid notch above Buffalo. And I'm with you. I have a hard time landing at a spot where I pick the Bills to win, short of a crazy turnover ratio or Josh Allen just, going supernova.
Thad, what can we look forward to tonight on News 8, and what time does the show start this Sunday?
So Sunday we're going to do a normal Buffalo kickoff live, 11 o'clock on the CW in Buffalo and 11:30 in Rochester. Tonight at 6 on News 8, Thad's 3 Things. I'll give you my full breakdown and prediction for the Bills and the Cowboys, and then the extended version of that on RochesterFirst.com. Sometime this weekend, whenever I can fit it in among Christmas shopping.
I love it. Thad, enjoy the holidays, man, and thank you so much for making some time. Have a great weekend, bud.
You guys too, man. Thanks for the time.
There he is.
Thanks,
Thad Brown, News 8 Sports Director, giving us his thoughts on Bills Cowboys coming up on Sunday. You'll be able to hear the game on the Fan Rochester. Our pregame coverage gets underway at noon.
There's a take that makes me kind of reconsider the whole Kaiir Elam kind of narrative we've had this week. Like, wait a second, why was he out there hurt? But when you kind of just the fact that there's a difference between being hurt and being injured. He wasn't injured.
You reframe it this way because now he's more valuable to another team. When the offseason comes around and Kaiir Elam doesn't want to be a part of the Buffalo Bills because he couldn't get on the field this year, maybe it is an injury, or maybe it is he's just not what they thought that they were getting.
I think maybe in the sunshine of St. John Fisher when he's out there and he looks great and everything else, and somebody gives a call, that's when you would move him. I don't think you would be making a move in the spring or whenever when he's fully healthy, everything's really good.
But this is step one in reframing him.
Right, yeah.
This is step one in reframing him. No, he didn't get on the field because he's not good. He's been injured. Don't you understand the difference? He's injured.
Then why wasn't he on the injury report then?
That I can't answer. But every team does that. Every team messes around with the injury report, Gino. You know that. Yeah, that feels like the beginning of a reframing of Kyer Elam's ability. Like, he's still got ability, guys. He was just injured all of last season. That's why he didn't get on the field. That's why we couldn't get him a jersey. He wasn't right.
He got drafted because of the damn notebook.
That's right.
Remember that? Like Coach McDermott, I keep notes.
He was intoxicated. McDermott was intoxicated by the notes. He heard that, and he saw the notebook come out, and that was it.
Can I see the notebooks?
Yeah. And then he had to wash his hands afterwards, clean up a little bit. Like, that was it. That he was smitten from that point on. And then, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You got hoodwinked. It doesn't mean that there's not value to the player. And look, I'm not going to completely dismiss Kyer Elam's future in Buffalo. Like, I think the player is nice. I think he could be. I think he could be something in time. But I don't know that the Bills have that kind of patience with him. And
it's alarming to me that Josh Norman got his elevations from the practice squad. When he brought it, we were like, oh, my God, they re-signed Josh Norman. And what you said at the time, something terrible must have gone wrong.
Something terrible has gone wrong. Good stuff from Thad. We'll talk Cowboys football next hour when we're joined by Bobby Belt, Cowboys insider for our Odyssey Sports sister station, 105.3 The Fan in Dallas. He'll be stopping by right around 4:25. Some takes on tap next in the sports bar.
I have a weird imagination, Danger, and I picture Saturday night being a celebration of wealth in Buffalo. We're not invited to this, but when NFL owners are in an opposing town, normally they go over to the host owner's mansion and they...
Is that a fact? Does that happen? Is that true?
Yeah, that's what's happened in the past.
The owners get together when they visit? So if Terry Pagula's in Los Angeles, he's going over to...
It depends on the relationship, of course, but we know that Jerry, he's really, Terry, that is like a mutual admiration society.
Yeah, I could see that. I could visualize that. We talk a little bit more here about the vacancy now with the Los Angeles Chargers, because immediately a lot of people are going to say, well, that's a great job. That's a premier job. You got to get that job. That's a great job. Maybe, and of course there's one name that's being immediately linked to it. It's going to be a fascinating thing to watch. I'm going to tell you why there might be some landmines in that gig now occupied, or now vacant, I should say, with the firing of Brandon Staley after that embarrassing performance by the Chargers last night in Prime. That's on the way next. Some takes on tap in the sports bar. Danger and Battaglia stand by for I'll Drink to That. This holiday season, all your wishes are coming true on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. It's Mike Danger for FanDuel, the official partner of 95.7 The Fan. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is super easy to use, and there's a wide range of betting options, everything from spreads to player props, over-unders, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/Mike and kick off the NFL season with me on FanDuel. FanDuel.com/Mike, M-I-K-E. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. 21 plus and physically present in New York. First online real money wager only. $5 pregame moneyline wager required. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Fan, Rochester. Sports Update.
AJ Epineza and Micah Hyde have both been ruled out for Sunday's game against the Dallas Cowboys. Taron Johnson practicing fully today. He's going to be fine. Running back James Cook is ready.
I try to stay steady, and whenever my name and my opportunity presents itself, I try to answer the bell. I mean, that just come with it, you know. The more you produce, the more the ball gonna find you. So I just try to keep producing and keep making plays for my team.
4:25 the kickoff this Sunday, Bills and Cowboys, a day after giving up 63 points. The LA Chargers today firing head coach Brandon Staley as well as their GM. Emerson Hartford tonight. Don Stevens will have the call here at 7. Devin Levi expected to get the starting goal tonight for the Buffalo Sabres, who play in Vegas. Sabres hockey tonight can be heard at 10 o'clock on 96.5 WCMF. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
It's Football Friday.
Bills Cowboys 425 live Sunday here.
The matchup of the week.
I like the Bills in the game. I like the Bills laying anything under a field goal. Bit of a better spot for Buffalo, and I think the Bills are probably slightly better than Dallas.
I certainly don't love going into like a really desperate Bills team. Like the shoe has to drop at some point. You know, if I had to predict the loss the Cowboys will have over the final 4 weeks, it's this one.
Mike Danger.
When is it going to happen? When's the letdown going to happen? I don't think it happens on Sunday. I actually think the Bills lose 31-27 for me, so a 4-point Cowboys win.
Gene Battaglia.
Yeah, fantastic matchup. One you get every 4 years.
Jackpot, baby!
The Chargers fired head coach Brandon Staley.
Tomorrow, 3 standalone NFL games.
The Dodgers and pitcher Tyler Glasnow, a 5-year, $135 million contract.
Buffalo's right back at it against
the Vegas Golden Knights.
Hammers Hockey, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
You know, I'm not saying that Bill Belichick will be the next coach of the Chargers, but if he were to make the move, now would be the time. I'll explain. I'll drink to that as we welcome you back into the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia, glad you're listening along locally at 95.7 FM, AM 950. We sound our best in the free-to-download Odyssey app. That's where you can get all of our guest appearances and past shows as well. Search out the Sports Bar wherever you get your favorite shows. And find us on YouTube and Twitch at The Fan Rochester. Our live stream is up, and if you like and subscribe there as well, we always appreciate that. I'm Danger. That's Battaglia.
I guess the clock has been reset because when we talk about teams that quit on their coach, we cite Todd Bowles and Matt Barkley buying himself years in this league by leading the Buffalo Bills to a win in New York over a Jets team that quit on their coach. That really happened.
It's rare. You don't see it often. I don't think you see it often in the NFL. But when it happens,
whoa,
you know it. You know it when you see it, right? Like it's just one of those things. You know it when you see it. We all saw that game with Matt Barkley playing quarterback for the Bills. We're like, okay, well, they're done with Bowles. He'll be out, and he was. He made it through the rest of the season, but we knew that was it. Like, he was going to be a gone.
No, I think they fired him.
Right after that game?
Yeah.
Was it after that game?
Yeah, I'll have to look that up here.
All right, yeah. Well, look, I'm surprised they didn't fire Staley at halftime. I mean, you're down 42-0 against a divisional opponent, a divisional rival, who didn't score a single point the previous week. On a short week, that is what a team quitting on their coach looks like. It was on display for everybody.
Oh, I hate this. You were right.
Yeah, I thought he made it through the season.
Yep.
So now what's next? And everybody immediately wants to put Bill Belichick in that role in Los Angeles. If you're going to do it and you're Bill Belichick, this would be the time. You have the quarterback, obviously. You can maximize that defense being who you are. And next season, the AFC West should be more up for grabs, short of Kansas City going on a weapons spree for Patrick Mahomes this offseason. Decisions that need to be made. In 2024, technically, they're $42 to $45 million over the cap. So this team may need to part with some of their aging stars. If you cut Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, Mike Williams, Sebastian Joseph Day, and Eric Kendricks, now you're $30 million in the black. You can start the reset of the organization immediately rather than spreading out that pain. I can't wait. Ownership approaches this hire is going to be very interesting to watch, especially if they decide that trading for Belichick is actually worth it.
I don't think. Follow me on this. How can you trade for a coach with the Rooney Rule now? Wouldn't that be a violation? You should have an open thing. How would you know Belichick is the guy? I mean, does that you can't bypass the Rooney Rule by trading for a head coach, can you?
That's a good question. I don't know if you would have to go through interview processes while you're trying to put together a trade. You certainly couldn't interview him because he's under contract, right? You wouldn't.
So we're going to interview some random D for 3 coaches and call it a day.
But honestly, why would you? Why like if you're the Spanos family, what do you have to interview Bill Belichick for? Do you not know what you're getting when you make that deal? Aren't you? Are you making that deal just because it's a name? Just because there's weight to bringing him in?
Oh, you interview him not because you know he's qualified, certainly, but you need to know if it's a fit, right? We have a perception of Belichick, but until you actually talk to him, and I would want to hear like, hey, I'm really into this job, and I'm not just here to chase Don Shula's record. Here would be my plan to win you a Super Bowl. Like I would want to hear those words if you really want.
But could you do that while he's under contract with the Patriots without trading for him?
No, you can't. So that's why, and when you factor in the Rooney Rule, and also I don't think the Patriots would do that to Belichick, make him like a piece of property. He's earned the right. I don't think they're going to say fired. I don't think they're going to say relieved of his duties. I think they're going to say parting of ways. And coach, thank you. And there's going to be a lot of thank yous and a lot of tears, weeks 18, whatever, blah, blah, blah. What's a tell here, Danger, with the Chargers' job is they blew out the GM today, too. Okay, Tom Telesco, who has a good reputation, but again, only 3 playoff appearances in 11 years. That's not great. And the cap situation you mentioned, that's not great. So you could go hire the GM first, and then he hires because you want the alignment there, right?
Yeah.
Or it opens the door, possibly. Belichick is going to want his own personnel guy. Jim Harbaugh would want his own personnel guy. Guys with cachet where the power would lean head coach, and you still need that alignment. I don't think you let Bill Belichick be in charge of a draft, but whoever your GM is has to have a good relationship with Bill Belichick, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. I'm wondering if they kind of do what I think the Spanoses are known for doing, which is kind of going cheap and just getting the next coordinator, which is what they always seem to do, right? Right now, if you're talking odds, Bill Belichick won 3-1, Frank Smith 4-1, Kellen Moore at 4-1, and then you get your Ben Johnson at 7-1. Ben Johnson's the one that I think makes sense. Like if they went with Ben Johnson and you're Ben Johnson, that's notable because you've got your quarterback and you can make some noise with the weapons you have on offense. You'll have some challenges, but at least you know you have your quarterback. That would be there are worse first-time jobs, head coaching jobs for Ben Johnson than the Chargers would be offering.
That would be the best football move, but again, if you're in Los Angeles and you've got to make sure all your premium seats and sponsorships and blah, blah, blah in a town, again, we've done the rankings here. Where would the Chargers rank? 9th at best here? Like in terms of Lakers, Dodgers, LeBron, Shohei, and gosh, even the Rams. But even the Rams, like they hosted a Super Bowl in the town they play in, obviously, and they weren't the lead story.
I love some of these names that are on this list of odds to be the next head coach. At 14-1, Lincoln Riley.
Okay.
How about a step back in your own market? You're at USC. Let's take a step back. You could be the head coach of the NFL's LA Chargers. Harbaugh at 9-1, by the way. I don't see it. That's a hard one for me to visualize. Harbaugh in Los Angeles with the Chargers. I don't know about that. If you wanted a defensive-minded head coach, Brian Flores is 9-1. Dan Quinn, 14-1. Gerard Mayo, 14-1. But there he is, Bill Belichick at 3-1. Top the list of odds. Be the next head coach of the LA Chargers.
NFL teams fly in the day before. There's no such thing as game day travel. When it is, it's rare. It's happened a few times in history, which Well, it means more often than not, you get the team owner flying on the plane with the team. Sometimes they'll just fly in on the game day itself. But imagine Jerry Jones with a night off in Buffalo. What does he do? Does he go over the border? Well, I think people would recognize him there. Terry Pegula inviting him over to his mansion in the South Towns, right? These two men have a mutual admiration for one another. I picture Terry Pegula, like, what would his collection be? He'd be proud to show off, just kind of like walking Jerry around the mansion.
Interesting,
like,
yeah. What would it be?
What would it be? I picture them both toasting their wealth and success, and Jerry congratulating Terry on extracting so much money from Kathy.
A record amount of money.
Yeah.
Raise a glass to us stealing money from the state. We are billionaires, and the taxpayers are paying for our stadium.
The quote from Jerry way back when talking about Terry Pegula becoming the new owner, he knew Terry Pegula in a different sense. And to him, he's drawing the analogy. He's like, guys, in my business, Terry Pegula is like Elvis. Like, that's all, like, okay, in the energy business, yeah, like somebody who reinvented things, I suppose, by fracking.
Yeah, that's interesting. If the wives are involved, I imagine you got to talk about the art collection, because we know Jerry's wife likes the art. Do you think Terry's a bourbon guy? Do you think he's got like a collection of rare bourbons? Maybe a wine guy?
The only thing I know about that is that when Rex Ryan was hired, he stayed overnight, not up here in Buffalo, but at the Pegula residence down in Boca Raton. And the text from Russ Brandon, to Rex Ryan was, hey, Terry really likes red wine. So he's a red wine connoisseur.
So he's probably got some really, really expensive red wine bottles.
No, this is not my box wine. This is not my dangerous special. This is stuff that I'd be lucky to sip once in my life.
And it's funny. You could say, oh, this is a bottle of, whatever year, vintage, blah, blah, blah. And this is the value of this bottle. And we're cracking it open because it's Jerry Jones, and we're going to have a very special bottle. I've got a special bottle prepared for tonight. And Jerry and everybody else, most people I think would be like, oh, who cares? Yeah, okay, fine. It tastes just like the box wine. What are we talking about?
Now, is it a celebration of wealth, and here's my collection of rare whatevers, Yadros? I don't know. Or is it they're going to be real concerned because these two men are together, and when their names were linked together back in September, it was Jim Trotter with a terrible, terrible allegation about both of these guys. Somewhere in the back of my mind, Danger, I just have this fear that audio is going to be released at the worst possible time for the Bills franchise, or for the Cowboys franchise, for that matter.
There are other things that could happen that could get them in trouble. Hey, everybody, welcome to Sundowners. It's a big weekend here at Sundowners. It's the Cowboys are in town. CeeDee Lamb in the Champagne Room. And look at who's here. We've got the aliens, both Terry and Jerry. Head over to stage 3 and say hi to Vanessa. Vanessa, stage 3. Vanessa, stage 3. They could get themselves in a lot of trouble.
Well, we have fine ladies down in Texas, but I hear up in Canada. Can we have time to go over there? How do we?
I declare, if we can cross the border, yeah, they could get themselves in some trouble.
He would be the one. I'm hoping I see Jerry this Sunday. Like, when we have a Jerry Jones sighting this Sunday, he's the one owner that'll be like, there he is.
Do you think he comes to Buffalo and he walks into Highmark Stadium, plugs his nose? I guess I'll go to my suite.
What is the security detail for Jerry? He's not walking in alone, right?
I just think that based on the discrepancy between AT&T Stadium and Highmark Stadium, that dude's walking in wearing like a gas mask, or he's incognito. Like, I really don't want to be seen at this dump. I'm only seen at AT&T.
So this was the Monday night loss. These two teams have played some incredible games over the years. And for Bills fans, this one was a nightmare. Tony Romo, 5 picks, and you still lost the game. And in incredible fashion, when the Cowboys looked like they were dead, and game-winning field goal at the buzzer, and immediately they cut away to Jerry's box. And his box It was like in the worst possible location. It's behind the opposite goalpost. Okay,
he's hanging out with Takeo Spikes.
No.
The two of them are in the worst possible box. He's hanging out with all the legends of the game.
No. Michael Irvin was in the box. And they show Michael Irvin behind the glass. It wasn't even open. He's going crazy like the Cowboys. But like, come on. You got to, like, if Jerry comes in, give them a good box.
No, give him Takeo Spikes' box.
Partially
give him the box that you give the legends of the game, and give the legend of the game Jerry's box. Do it right. Non-sports take, and apologies to you, Gino, because you already heard me rant about this.
No. This is good.
The last couple of weeks have ended most of the remnants of construction season in our fair city. Couple of notes. 390 back to running as normal north of 490, closer to our studios here. State Street construction looks like it's complete finally. And on a day when the sun is out, Gino, you know I have to try and soak up some of that vitamin D. I go for a little walk down State Street. I get a slice for lunch. And when I say this is why we can't have nice things, this is the example that I will point to. Everything on State Street now is new. New sidewalks, new garbage cans, new recycling bins, new benches, new trees planted along State Street. I can't wait to see what it looks like in the spring. It's going to be glorious. On the ground next to those trees, mounds of dog crap. Not like a little one here, a little one. No, this is like big dog, giant mounds of dog crap. Just mounds of it. So disgusting. And I know that there's some residential down there, and I know that green space along State Street is at a premium. But look, I shouldn't be the one on the radio saying, pick up your dog's crap after it goes. I am absolutely disgusted, disappointed that this mindset even exists. Just pick it up. If you're too big to do the small things, you're too small to do the big things. This is why we can't have nice things.
Are you sure it was dog crap?
Dude,
look, downtown has some.
I'm going to assume because it was right next to the trees. And if it wasn't, then that's terrible too. That's even worse.
That's even worse.
Come on, like what are we doing, guys? Everything is brand new. It's immaculate. Like, this is as nice as it might ever look. And walking like, oh, that's disgusting. What are we doing? Can we pick it up? And if it isn't dog crap, then obviously, I think we all know we have a problem. I hope it's not. I hope it is somebody just being lazy and not picking up after their dog.
Look, it sounds cold-hearted, but please, when you're driving downtown and you get to the bottom of the exit ramp and there's a panhandler, do not roll down the window. There are places and people that can help those people, but you're just hurting the system.
A block away.
Yeah, a block away. Don't do it.
The open door mission is a block away from State Street.
One time danger, I'm like, okay, I'm going to try to make a difference. I'm going to be a hero. So like somebody I rolled down the window. Hey, can I have some money? You know what? I'm going to buy you a burger. So I take this gentleman. I go into the Wendy's on Main Street. And then I realize, oh my gosh, what a mistake. This guy just he didn't want the burger. I realized that right away, and we never even got in line.
Oh, there's countless stories of, hey, I feel bad. Here's my doggy bag from dinner. Here's my leftovers from dinner, and it gets thrown right back in your face.
Yeah.
Look, I'm sympathetic to a point, but I also think you got to take the first step. And if you're talking about getting help a block away, that feels like the right first step towards the recovery that you desire, you need. But man, I'm telling you, if that's the case, then even worse. But if it's a dog, come on. I shouldn't.
Pick up after your dog.
Pick up after your dog.
Yeah.
It's essentially on the sidewalk. I mean, it's right there next to the newly planted trees. It's just, I want to get excited, and then I see that, I'm like, God damn it, what are we doing?
It's easy to pick up after a dog. You just take the plastic
the doggy bag,
and then you put your hand on it. You don't even touch it with your own fingers.
Anyways.
And
then I got to go get a slice after I see them like that. Now I'm not even. Now I have no appetite. No appetite anymore. It's
but
gone.
I was gonna say, at least you're not walking through mud and everything else.
No,
look, it was a war zone for quite some time, and now it's open. It's nice. It's open. Traffic isn't that bad. I think most of the city probably doesn't even realize that it's open again, but it's nice to see that it's open. It's nice to be able to walk around down there again without having to dodge through detours and traffic barrels. But now you're dodging excrement. Just maddening downtown. Bobby Belt. Our Odyssey Sports sister station, 105.3, The Fan in Dallas. He is the Cowboys insider for The Fan Dallas.
Isn't that is a Texas name if there ever was one, right?
I can't wait to talk to Bobby Belt. We're going to do it next. We'll talk about the Cowboys and the Bills here on The Fan.
update.
AJ Epineza and Micah Hyde have both been ruled out for Sunday's game against the Cowboys. Taron Johnson practiced fully today. He's fine for Sunday. Steph Diggs on his recent production.
For me personally, I've been trying, bro. I promise you I've been trying. It's not because of me, you know what I'm saying? But teams are doing a good job. We just got to continue to make plays and, I guess, spread the ball around. We've been winning so far. In a perfect world, I want the ball. I want to have success. And, you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, we winning games. That's what I got to tip my hat to.
4:25 the kickoff on Sunday. Our pregame coverage will begin at noon. We'll talk to Bobby Belt, 105.3, the Fan in Dallas, coming up next year in the Sports Bar. The Chargers today firing head coach Brandon Staley and GM Tom Telesco. Rochester Americans tonight in Hartford. Don Stevens will be by at 7 o'clock with the call. Devin Levi expected to get the starting goal tonight for the Sabres. We're in Vegas. That game tonight on CMF. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader. The Fan, Rochester.
The beer is cold and the wings are hot. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
I have a great admiration for his game. To be able to play at such a high level for such a long time, the habits he probably has, the amount of preparation he puts into it, how he handles and takes care of his body. In addition to that, so just very aware, a very aware football player that uses great technique, and he certainly knows what routes are coming. It seems like in certain situations.
There's Bills head coach Sean McDermott on Cowboys Corner, former Buffalo Bills Stephon Gilmore. You're back in the Sports Bar. It's Danger and Battaglia. Trying to get Bobby Belt on the blower. 105.3, the Fan and Dallas Cowboys Insider. Get a little bit more on this weekend's matchup between the Bills and the Cowboys. Gino, were you shooting him a little text also there?
Second, yeah.
All right, so we'll get Gino to try. Gino's trying to get Bobby on the call with us. We got happy hour coming up here in about a half an hour or so. And don't forget, you got Amerks hockey tonight. You got Sabres hockey tonight as well. Amerks hockey here on the Fan Rochester. Just after 7 o'clock, you can catch the Sabres on CMF tonight. Later tonight, West Coast. They're in Vegas taking on the Golden Knights. That's at 10 o'clock tonight as the Sabres look to bounce back from a disappointing performance in Denver. Against a familiar foe, Jack Eichel and the Vegas Golden Knights. Devin Levi getting the start between the pipes tonight for the Buffalo Sabres. We also got a round of shots coming up as well. That's all still to come here in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Yeah, so as we're waiting for Bobby Belt, who knows? Could be news that's happening right now in Big D. Look, they've had a good year in Dallas, right? Team wins the World Series. Give Buffalo something here, right? Maybe.
I don't think they're going to feel that way. I don't know that they have any sympathy to Buffalo. Other news and notes around the NFL, and you mentioned in your sports update, it's the end of the Brandon Staley and Tom Telesco era with the Chargers. And Telesco had been the GM there in L.A. and dating back to San Diego since 2013. They made the playoffs 3 times while he was the GM. Staley just became the Chargers head coach in 2021. Made the playoffs last season, of course, lost in spectacular fashion to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And a lot of chargering continued when they made the decision to move on from Anthony Lynn to Brandon Staley. Names have changed. Results have been the same. So, and all on the heels of just an embarrassing performance last night in prime. Chargers fall to the Raiders 63-21.
Wow. And here I was stressing last night. Oh, my gosh. Fantasy playoffs. Should I play Devontae Adams after?
8 players scored a touchdown for the Raiders in that game. That's only the 4th team in NFL history to have 8 players score a touchdown in a single game. And if you were wondering about Easton Stick, in relief of the injured Justin Herbert, he threw a pick, lost 2 fumbles. Josh Kelly and Darius Davis also each losing a fumble. Can't win ball games that way. 63-21.
I can guarantee you that you've never heard of the interim head coach. Gif Smith.
GIF?
GIF.
Like the thing that you post
GIF,
on Twitter?
Yeah. Or maybe his GIFs.
It could be GIF? Is it GIF or is it GIF? How do you pronounce it? GIF or GIF? It's a debate that will last for a generation. So what was his role?
He was on the line, I guess. Let's see.
Line coach?
Yeah. Well, initially serving as the defensive line coach before taking outside linebacker coach the last 2 seasons. And it's 12 seasons coaching the NFL. Smith has coached 5 players to earn a combined 10 Pro Bowl starts, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah.
All
this
right.
is like, yeah.
So I have mixed emotions on this firing if you're a Bills fan, because there's a part of you that wanted Brandon Staley to be the coach and have his team quit on him next week as well. And you don't know. This is an unknown, right? You don't know if this Smith guy can rally the troops, get them excited, get them up for a game that will essentially be meaningless for them, but will mean a lot for the Buffalo Bills, regardless of the outcome against Dallas on Sunday. We know that the Bills will have to play the Cowboys on Sunday without A.J. Epineza and Micah Hyde. You remember the rib injury from Sunday with Epineza, and then the stinger that you've got Hyde dealing with in that game against the Chiefs. Injured reserve has not been ruled out, according to Sean McDermott, for either player. Hyde, the likelier of the two to land on the list at this point. So I guess we see a little bit more Taylor Rapp in the Buffalo Bills defensive secondary on Sunday.
Yeah, and I look at the Bills defensive line, and we talked to Thad Brown earlier, and I'm torn on this. I don't like, all these allegations surrounding Von Miller. If we're just talking, that's my disclaimer up front, right? So we're just taking this from a football standpoint, and he did create a pressure on Patrick Mahomes last week. So are we expecting anything out of Von Miller either in this game or from now to the end of the season?
I mean, I think I see what Thad is seeing, which is just real slight improvements week by week. It's a hard thing to quantify. I mean, you quantify it by saying he actually got a sack. I mean, when he gets a sack, we'll be celebrating, right? And maybe this was the plan all along. Hey, we want him playing his best football by the end of the season. We were going to ramp him up to get to a point where we can unleash him and he can be what we want him to be by the end of the season, by the postseason. Hey, you're not going to get to the postseason if you don't have Von Miller applying the kind of pressure that we started to see a little bit last week against Kansas City.
Yeah, and if you couple that with Daquan Jones, that's why, like you said, Danger, the Bills could lose this game to Dallas. It's not lethal in terms of their playoff hopes. It will keep them in 11th place, okay, in the standings. But the schedule just lays out, you win your last 3. I'd rather just make sure that you get this one because you're going to jump some teams. For example, Houston, story today, they're not going to have C.J. Stroud. He's still in concussion protocol. Now, not officially out.
He hasn't practiced.
Right. So he is listed as doubtful for this game.
That's tough. Here's a blow for the Dolphins. Tyreek Hill hasn't practiced all week. He's out again today. So he's kind of up in the air. He's questionable for Sunday's game against the Jets. Hurting that ankle during the Monday night loss to Tennessee. And you also have Devon Achane dealing with a toe issue going into that game against the Jets. I'm telling you, the psychology of momentum is a real thing. Zach Wilson had his best game this season just last week against those Texans. The Jets could give the Dolphins some problems here, I think, on Sunday.
Well, I would also think, too, and you saw this on Christmas Day with Green Bay, like the team that is up north, like right now, like, hey, we're down here. It's 75 degrees. This is great. Let's let it rip.
Yeah. Speaking of the Packers, A.J. Dillon dealing with a thumb injury. That's kept him out of practice the last 2 days. Dillon said he had an x-ray on Tuesday, showed that he broke his thumb in last week's loss to the Giants. Of course you lost to the Giants. Who's the quarterback? Tommy DeVito, because he's Italian. And Dillon kept playing in that game, even though he suffered the broken thumb. And he's hoping to find a way to do so again against Tampa this weekend. Aaron Jones would be a plus. Jones has been limited in practice the last 2 days after missing 3 games with a knee injury. That backfield for Green Bay is a mess, and their chances are slipping away. That loss to the Giants didn't help, and they certainly need to get over on Tampa this weekend.
Let's not bury the lead here, Danger. Can I have some hot uniform music, por favor?
We got to set the mood in the sports bar with a little hot uniform talk.
Yeah, going back to that Houston and Tennessee matchup, and you might be a little confused there because it's the Houston Texans playing a team that's going to look like the Houston Oilers. Where do you come down on this, Danger? That's like kind of
disrespectful.
Yeah, it's
just straight up disrespectful.
Like, are you torn in the Houston? Like, oh, I would think that would tug at your heartstrings just a little bit to see the oil derrick and the
Dude, I'm telling you, it's flat out disrespectful. If you're the Houston Texans, that is the ultimate form of disrespect because there's so many people in Houston that love you blue. They didn't want to see that team leave. They'll always be loyal to that team. They love the powder blue. They love everything that logo, that jersey, everything that it stands for. And you manufactured a franchise in the Texans that they've kind of grown to love, but originally and in their hearts, it's still the Houston Oilers that they love. Huge troll job. Absolute disrespect.
Yeah, the game is in Tennessee.
You can wear those uniforms any other game you want to. Any other game you want to, right? Do you wear them twice a year? You can wear them against anyone. You're going to wear them against Houston. It's just flat out disrespect.
Is there another instance like this? I don't like it when Carolina all of a sudden becomes the Hartford Whalers. And okay, yes, I guess, but there's no team in Hartford right now.
No, I'll tell you what it is. It's Dallas. It's the Dallas Stars in Minnesota in hockey. I don't see the Dallas Stars wearing the old Minnesota North Stars throwbacks. More so, you see the Wild trying to replicate the colors with their alternate jerseys.
And that's fine. That's absolutely fine. It'd be like the Baltimore Ravens all of a sudden. Hey, we're from Cleveland. You know what? We're going to change our colors this week when we play the Browns.
Yeah, right. We're going to change our colors to orange and white and brown. The Raven is not black anymore. It's brown. I don't know that another example exists where it's just blatant disrespect. Dallas feels like it could be that way because the Dallas Stars logo is essentially the old Minnesota Stars logo, but I'm talking like old Minnesota North Stars logo, right? They're not whipping that one out as an alternate jersey, although if they did and they wore it against the Wild, that would be akin to what we're talking about here with the Titans wearing the old Houston Oilers get-ups.
Yeah, the Washington Nationals broke out the Montreal Expos ones, but there's no team in Montreal.
Yeah, and I know that there's a lot of, if you're from Hartford, there's a lot of emotion about Carolina wearing the Whaler throwbacks. You can't be upset. That's the team. They can do that. You don't have a team anymore. Sorry.
Speaking of which, that arena, because they never built an arena, that arena's still standing. That's where the Amerks are playing tonight.
Oh, the mall?
The mall. I've been to the mall. You ever been to the mall?
No, I've never been to the mall.
I've been to the mall. It's kind of, instead of walking through a movie theater door was closed, it's this is which I'm surprised more teams didn't try something like this. You talk about development and selling stuff or.
Yeah. The mall.
I don't even know if the mall still exists, but the
mall is a mall. The arena is still there, but the mall might not be there.
I don't know, downtown malls.
Yeah, you got a pawn shop.
I heard we had one one point.
I mean, you're telling me a lot of things, a lot of half truths coming out of your mouth today. You're telling me that we used to have a basketball team, an NFL team. Get out of here.
I used to work there. It'd be Black Friday. Yep, this is the only mall where there's nobody here on Black Friday.
Midtown. I only heard the stories of what Midtown used to be, because when I moved here in '97, it had kind of become a shell.
It was the joke.
It was a shell at that point, right? There was a Taco Bell. I remember that. There was a Bruegger's. I remember that the food court wasn't the saddest food court I'd ever seen, but you could see then in the late '90s. I'm like, oh, this used to be something, but it's not that anymore. And the monorail and the clock.
That's where we went as kids, the monorail, and then you climbed up the mountain to see Santa. It was like the movie A Christmas Story. And then there was no slide, but you had to go up the mountain to see Santa.
You shoot your eye out, kid. Ho, 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 boom. Down he goes. All right, Gino, let's call an audible here at the line of scrimmage.
I don't think our guy's joining us here. But.
Haven't heard anything from Bobby Belt? All right.
Maybe he's on Central Time. We're on Eastern Time.
The letters ET kind of specify Eastern Time, right?
Yeah. And so I'm clear. When I line up guests, whether that's Binkley or something,
you always say Eastern Time.
I always say Eastern Time because I'm not taking the time to figure out your time. The world revolves around the East Coast. I'm sorry. That's just a fact. There's a take.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty
you
good.
Figure out our time here.
The world revolves around East Coast is a good take. It's not as good as Jack isn't a real name, but it's a good take. Not take of the year nominee.
Can I nominate a Mike Danger take of the year nominee if I'm allowed to?
I mean, I'm humbly standing here waiting. Well, I don't know where you're going with this.
Well, it's a take that got, I think, unbelievable response. The fact when I was out in Buffalo, people were pulling me aside because then it's kind of spread on video and whatnot. And I'm like, oh boy, we went outside the sports bar borders here. And there have been so many losses this year, whether that's the Patriot game, whether it was the London game, whether it was the bet. But the one I think that kind of stabs you is the Bronco game, how that all ended. And I think your take, where I think you black out in this, you're so angry in this take. Can you dig this up?
Yeah, I remember this. This was, let's see.
I think we got it here.
Yeah, this was after the loss to Denver.
That's where we're at.
That's where we're at.
That's where we're at with this guy. He needs to go. It's done. You have 7 games left in the season, and there isn't, even if he wins out, the only thing right now that would satisfy or satiate anybody is if you win the Super Bowl. And it ain't happening with this team. He needs to go. This is it. It's over. We don't need to lose the games the way they're losing these games. It's almost always on the head coach.
Incredibly sloppy. How many instances? 13 seconds. Minnesota.
Zero detail. Zero attention to detail. Well, we practiced it. I don't know. It's inexcusable. You're damn right it's inexcusable. How? How do you know you have 12 men on the field when you know that Denver is going to do one more kneel down, then they're going to run out the field goal team onto the field? You had time to know that was coming. You had time to get organized. You practiced it during the week, and it's still got screwed up. I'm done. I'm out. I'm out on McDermott. You're not going as far as you think you're going. You're never going to get it. You're never going to get to where you want to go with that guy leading your organization.
Mike Danger, today is December 15th. Do you still stand by those comments?
I feel like I was Ty Dunn's muse for a moment there. Yes, I still stand by those comments. When they win games big, it's great. It's fantastic. But you're winning games big against teams that you should win games big over. When the pressure gets hot, this team looks disorganized. Last week was no different. We're not talking about it as much because they won. But my God, the end of the first half, that wasn't maddening. Josh Allen was frustrated. You could see it. What are we doing, guys? Am I throwing a Hail Mary? We going for the points? We going for a long field goal? What's the plan? What are we doing? Watch Mike McCarthy this weekend. There's no delay. This guy, when he's calling plays, boom, 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 boom. Plays over, next plays in. Plays over, next plays in. There's a rhythm. There's a confidence. There's detail. He knows where he's going with it. I feel like we're just making it up as we go along in some of these games. That's on the coach. Not knowing what to do, the timeouts, the sloppy clock management. Thank God Kadarius Toney was offside. Thank effing God. Because if they lost that game the way it looked like they were going to lose that game, Gino?
We're breaking down right before the 2-minute warning. What the heck are you doing with that management?
Terrible. Terrible. Yes, I stand by it. And I know that pisses a lot of people off. And I'm sorry. Look, you could say Sean McDermott is a great man, a great coach. He's done so much. He resuscitated. I can't argue any of that. You're right. You're right on all of it. And if all our goal is to have a competent franchise that makes the postseason, and I thought the goal was winning the whole thing. I thought we wanted a Super Bowl team. If that's the goal, if the goal is, hey, we're just happy to be, a playoff team.
We're relevant.
We're happy to be farting around every year. We're happy to be in the mix. If that's what we want, then he's your guy. He can get you to the postseason. He can. And I know that there's not a lot of great coaches out there and available. And selfishly, I hear the name Jim Harbaugh above. I'm like, that would make me happy. Like, that would mean something. That would move the needle for me. Short of that, I really, I don't have an answer. I don't know who that next bright head coach could be. And I know that they're not growing on trees. I know that coaches that can get their team to the postseason,
consistently that those coaches don't grow on trees. I just know what my eyes are seeing during his tenure, and he is not going to get us to where we want to be unless you're satisfied with the postseason. If that's where you're at, good on you. But I thought the goal was to win the Super Bowl. Did we lose that? Did we lose sight of that? He's not going to win the Super Bowl. Not with this team. It's not happening. I stand by that. And I don't know that they win this weekend. I would love for them to win this weekend. I think they could win this weekend. But I can't bring myself to a place knowing what we know about this team this season with the coaching, with the quarterback, and with the talent on the roster. Dallas, I think, has an advantage in all three of those categories. Maybe quarterback is a push. Maybe. But Dak Prescott isn't turning the ball over. I can tell you that much.
If this game were in Dallas, we're not even really considering as much. Not with their 19-game winning streak. It's the fact that it's up in Buffalo, and you're going to get a bounce there, and it's actually going to be crappy, and maybe it's in their heads, but I think they're well coached, and I don't think ultimately it's going to matter all that much. Yeah.
And you know what? It was interesting talking to RJ yesterday, who actually pushed back a little bit on Dan Campbell. The idea that the defense, it has had lapses.
Quinn.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Dan Campbell. Dan Quinn, yes. That the defense has had lapses, and maybe one of those lapses happens on Sunday, and the Bills get over. I'm not going to dismiss that. And I also think there's part of it like they want to win. They obviously want to improve their chances, but it's not the end of the world if they lose this game. You just now have to kind of plug your nose, keep your fingers crossed, and hope that Miami stumbles against Dallas and against Baltimore, which feels likely.
Or the Jets.
Or the Jets as soon as Sunday. Well, I appreciate the nomination, Gino.
Oh, you're welcome.
Who can we throw some names around there, make me feel good about myself? Who pulled you aside? Did anybody from the team pull you aside and say?
No, Perino did.
Oh, Perino.
Perino.
Oh, that's one of our favorites. That's one of our guys.
He was like, oh my gosh. No. We're going to get that call at some point, like, shame on you, Danger.
Look, I know that it sounds like I want the guy to get fired. I don't want anybody to lose their job. I just am of the belief that you're not going to win a Super Bowl with him as your head coach. Prove me wrong. I would love nothing more for him to prove me wrong. But instead, we get boneheaded decisions and awful clock management and sloppy play when the pressure gets turned up. And I know that everybody wants to paint Ty Dunn as this supervillain who went out to assassinate the character of Sean McDermott. I'm not saying anything bad about his character. I think he's got a fine character. I'm sure he's a wonderful human being, a great guy, a good leader, a guy that the players love and will back up and support. All of that is true. And it can also be true that he is a problem and preventing the team from being what they can truly be.
That's where that's where it falls short when they were calling it character assassination.
It's not character assassination.
Like as a character, like even says, like as a man, he's fine. He treats everybody fine. Said something really dumb.
When he said about when he was talking last week about how he spends all of his waking moments trying to get wins. Like I believe that. I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that his intentions are pure. His intentions are 100% pure. He's not a bad guy. And he's not a bad coach. But he's not the coach that's going to get you to a Super Bowl win. We haven't seen it. Well, and we've seen enough.
How does the story end this year for the Bills? Loss? It's a loss.
Loss in the playoffs.
But is it one of those, boy, we didn't match up with that team at all? Or is it going to be one? You'd almost rather have it be a 3-touchdown loss, right?
The way the Bengals game went, right? Like where it's just one-sided. It's not even close.
Right.
Well, look, I could be completely wrong, and these guys could surprise me.
It's the NFL.
It is the NFL.
We're wrong all the time in the NFL.
Right. 63 points last night from a team that scored 0 the week before.
Funny.
Who predicted that? Anybody? Raise your hand if you predicted. Raise your hand if you had 63-21 as the final in that game between the Raiders and the Chargers.
Oh, Michaels, can we get a running clock, please?
Get me out of here. I'm done.
Get me out of here. I want my steak now.
All right, we're going to take a break and come back with Happy Hour next in the sports bar. And we'll continue to discuss this matchup with the Cowboys coming up on Sunday. You'll be able to hear the action on the Fan Rochester. Our pregame coverage on Sunday afternoon gets underway right at 12 noon. Kickoff at 4:25 on the Sports Leader. You're welcome to join us at 866-4FAN. Our phone number 585-866-4326 in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Fan. This holiday season, all your wishes are coming true on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Danger again for FanDuel Sportsbook, the official partner of 95.7 The Fan. Right now, if you're a new customer, you get a shot at $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is super easy to use, and there's a wide range of betting options from spreads to player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/Mike, M-I-K-E, and join me this NFL season on FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. 21 plus and physically present in New York. First online real money wager, only $5 pregame money line wager required. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
HD2 and W239BF Rochester. The sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
AJ Epineza and Micah Hyde had both been ruled out for Sunday's game against the Dallas Cowboys. Taron Johnson practicing fully today. He's going to be good to go. Running back James Cook is ready.
I try to stay steady, and whenever my name and my opportunity presents itself, I try to answer the bell. I mean, that just come with it, you know. The more you produce, the more the ball going to find you. So I just try to keep producing and keep making plays for my team.
4:25 the kickoff coming up on Sunday. Noon our coverage begins here on the Fan Rochester. The Chargers today, a day after giving up 63 points to the Raiders, firing head coach Brandon Staley and GM Tom Telesco. The Amerks tonight in Hartford. Don Stevens will be by at 7 o'clock with the call. Devin Levi expected to get the starting goal tonight for the Sabres, who play in Las Vegas. Sabres hockey tonight can be heard at 10 o'clock on 96.5 WCMF. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, the Fan Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
It's Football Friday.
Bills Cowboys 425 live Sunday here.
The matchup of the week.
I like the Bills in the game. I like the Bills laying anything under a field goal. Bit of a better spot for Buffalo, and I think the Bills are probably slightly better than Dallas.
I certainly don't love going into like a really desperate Bills team. Like the shoe has to drop at some point. You know, if I had to predict the loss the Cowboys will have over the final 4 weeks, it's this one.
Mike Danger.
When is it going to happen? When's the letdown going to happen? I don't think it happens on Sunday. I actually think the Bills lose 31-27 for me, so a 4-point Cowboys win.
Gene Battaglia.
Yeah, fantastic matchup. One you get every 4 years.
Jackpot, baby!
The Chargers fired head coach Brandon Staley.
Tomorrow, 3 standalone NFL games.
The Dodgers and pitcher Tyler Glasnow, a 5-year, $135 million contract.
Buffalo's right back at it against
The Vegas Golden Knights.
Amerks Hockey. 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Happy hour in the sports bar. Thanks for making us part of your ride home, your sports weekend. We get it underway. We've got Amerks hockey tonight, Sabres hockey tonight. Of course, everything leading up to a big matchup in Orchard Park. The Bills hosting the Cowboys. Noon, our pregame coverage on Sunday gets underway on the Sports Leader. I'm Danger. He's Battaglia. Thanks for checking us out on the stream as well, at The Fan Rochester on YouTube, at The Fan Rochester on Twitch. Don't forget to like and subscribe while you're there, and we sound our best in the free-to-download Odyssey app.
My dream could have happened last night, Danger. Like if there was ever a coach that was going to be fired at halftime. That's what they should have put up on the scoreboard there. Brandon Staley has been relieved of his duties.
Could you imagine? I mean, if there was a game where the coach was so humiliated, just like shamed beyond recognition, you're just not coming out for the second half, coach. Stay back. Pack your things, go. This is done. No, you don't get to finish the game. You don't get to you're not coaching this team another second. That would have been the instance.
That would have been
last night.
That would have been it.
My God. And I know when it was funny. You were mentioning the rant on. I had a McDermott back against after the Denver loss. Billy tweeting us. By the way, you can reach out to us on Elon's Twitter at the Fan Rochester at AKA Mike Danger. He's at Gene Battaglia. Your takes on McDermott are music to my ears. I've been saying it since 2019, if not earlier. He's never changed. He never will. And I'm trying to remember where I was going with this with regard to the Brandon Staley and the Chargers. Regardless, 42-0. 42-0. Oh, I know where I was going. I was going to say, short of we criticize McDermott. We've criticized McDermott. It's been a rough season for McDermott. They've gotten the wins. They're farting around. But no matter how bad it gets, we're of the assumption that he's back next season. There's no chance that the Bills are going to move on from Sean McDermott. And I can be at peace with that. I'm totally fine with that.
I think we all expect that to happen, right?
Short of, and I've said this, and I think you co-sign this, Gino, that if the Bills were to quit on their head coach, then they would have to make that move, right? Then they would have to move on from Sean McDermott. Well, what does that look like? It looks like last night. That's what it looks like. If you had any doubt of what a team quitting on their coach looks like,
circle back to 63-21. That's what it looks like.
So the Chargers coming off really kind of a bad loss to the Broncos. Not that the Broncos are any great shakes, but they are a playoff team, I suppose. Short week. You're without your quarterback. Did they even prepare at all? Like, what was their practice like this week? It looked like they just kind of took a few days off and showed up last night.
Just terrible. Absolutely terrible. We always reference the Jets game where Matt Barkley went into the Meadowlands and surprised the Jets, and they rolled the Jets. And it's like, oh, that team quit on Todd Bowles. And at the end of the season, Todd Bowles was relieved of his duties as the Jets head coach. It looked like his team had quit on him. And that, I think, is the poison arrow. I think that's the one that takes out any head coach. When you know it, you know it when you see it. And last night it was very evident there on Prime. The Chargers quit on Brandon Staley, presented by Amazon. And today they made the move official. Not just Staley, but Telesco as well. The GM is out.
Yeah, well, it kind of, that's the tell to me there. If the GM also got blown out today, and you could say, well, Telesco, 3 playoff appearances, not really getting deep in 11 years, not good. And the cap next year, really not good. Let somebody else have at it. It makes the job more attractive if you want to get one of the big fishes in there, that they don't have to answer some GM they never worked for, that the head coach becomes the lead alpha and they could pick the personnel guy they want to work.
A byproduct of one dominant team in a division, because the Bills, the Jets, and the Dolphins all went through this when New England was in their dynasty run, right? And you're seeing it right now in the West with Kansas City. These teams in their division can't compete. They celebrate when they can get one win against Kansas City. It's a massive to do. And because you're not winning division championships, because you're getting limited playoff appearances, it's just not good enough for these billionaire owners and for the fans. If there are Charger fans left, I don't know that there are. I mean, that was embarrassing. It's one thing when your team name becomes a verb. You're chargering. Yeah. It's another thing when a team scores 0 points one week and shows up the next week and drops 63 on you. Yikes. So where does that leave the Chargers? Where does that leave the next GM, the next head coach? What does the Spanos family do?
Well, they're cheap, right? We kind of assume that
historically, historically pretty cheap. And, I know a lot of people immediately want to put Bill Belichick in that role. I think it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. If they want Bill Belichick, they would probably have to trade for him, right? Like, New England's not just going to hand him over. How New England deals with Bill Belichick has a big part in how the Chargers. So, there's a handful of names, Belichick, Harbaugh, that could really command the attention of the coaching carousel here. And I mean, a lot of times I think these organizations just have to make up their mind. Like, they can't keep going day by day by day without putting their lead guy in there. So they got to know, are you in or are you out? And if not, we're going to get Ben Johnson. Or if not, we're going to promote Kellen Moore. God, they're not going to promote Kellen Moore. I think Kellen Moore is gone.
No, part of this makes me sad, though, too, Danger, because, and again, my bias here, I think there are a ton of talented coaches in Division III. And that guy was carrying the torch. That guy, Brandon Staley. He was hired more for central casting in a town where you had Sean McVay and the movie star looks. Okay, we need something else. Oh, here's a bright young coach here. Like Brandon Staley, if you're not familiar, Division III coach who somehow does all these camps, gets one little gig in the NFL, and somehow becomes like the end of it. He was fake it till you make it guy, and he was exposed.
Yeah, he might. I mean, look, he might end up a good defensive coordinator somewhere, or he could just be a complete fraud. Just not cut out for this. We say it all the time. There are just certain coaches that you can just tell. Better coordinator, not really a head coach. I'm starting to believe that Arthur Smith might be one of those guys. Better coordinator, not a great head coach. And then there are coordinators that were head coaches that if they were to get the chance to be a head coach again, I'd be fascinated. If Dan Quinn gets another chance, I'd be fascinated by that. If the Dallas defensive coordinator ends up as a head coach next year, I'm a kind of averse to the defensive-minded head coach in 2023 and beyond, but it's more than just your expertise on one side of the ball versus the other. It's really your ability to lead men. Sean McDermott can lead men. I'm not doubting that.
his team hasn't quit on him. They won't quit on him.
No, it's the tactical stuff. It's the it's when
it's the in-game decisions.
When it's really pressure situations.
Yep. It's the details. It's the in-game decisions. I'm not questioning his motivations. I'm not questioning his ability to lead men. I think he can. But can he lead the men into the promised land? I do not think he can. So thanks for the tweet, Billy. Thanks for the nomination, Gene.
So it's one of my favorite shows of the year. Well, let's be honest, it's going to be our last show, and it's right before we go on vacation. But for that, just kind of reviewing what a great year it was here in the Sports Bar. Some do a year in review show. We do our take of the year, and who will win the take of the year? That's coming up next Thursday. Also, coming in for the first time since I don't know when, and I made the executive decision. I did not clear it by danger. 99% of the guests, I'm like, hey, Mike, who do you think we should bring on? Yeah, that's a good idea. This I did not, because you would say, no, that's not a good idea. But he's a longtime friend. He's harmless. He's fun. It's the holiday season. Let's hear from Masterstroke next week.
No! He's been banned from the show.
No.
We're going to bring him back in? Nobody wants him in here. He's either right or he's wildly wrong.
He's going to be right after this week because, they're going to blow out the Chargers and they're going to unless that leads to bad things.
Be careful what you wish for, Gino. The good news is we won't be here. The aftermath will not include us.
Christmas Eve edition of the Sports Bar.
Nuclear winter will not include the Sports Bar.
The Chargers. Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
Aaron tweeting us at the Fan Rochester. How do you beat Dallas? Run Josh to the sides and have more quarterback design runs? Forces a linebacker to spy the quarterback. Aaron, we've been spending a lot of time talking about how to beat Dallas. I think defensively, you've got to push Dak out of that pocket. You've got to get him. You've got to get him moving a little bit. You got to get him mobile, and you got to get him moving a little bit. I'm nervous about Ferguson. Ferguson's the guy in the offense that I think is going to do damage against the Bills. CeeDee Lamb is exceptional. He's great. But Ferguson is the one that I'm like, oh, if the Bills have shown a weakness, it's that. And it's just a product of the defense that they run. This cover two zone defense that they run is exposed in the soft spots. And tight ends that know where to be generally find themselves wide freaking open. So we'll see what kind of day Ferguson has. And the Bills offensively, that's where I actually think, look, I'm not too worried about what the Bills can do offensively. I think they'll be able to get by. I've got the Bills falling to Dallas 31-27. I think points will be scored. I think yards will be gained. I think Steph Diggs rebounds and gets his 100 yards. I think James Cook can get over 100 total yards between his rushing and receiving yards. Josh Allen will probably have a throw that he would want back. He'll probably have a turnover or two. And ultimately, that might be just enough to get Dallas the win come Sunday afternoon.
We are talking to our guy Bobby down in Texas. He forgot. So I told him to call in last call here. So
all right,
if you want to call in, do it now because we'll be talking to our Dallas Texan. Let's try that again. Dallas Cowboys reporter based in Texas, Bobby Bell.
Yeah, he's from our Odyssey Sports sister station, 105.3 The Fan. Our Cowboys insider from The Fan in Dallas. All right, so he'll join us here for last call. We'll get some final words from Dallas before we cut out for the weekend. What else here? Oh, as far as more insight into this matchup on Sunday, Thad Brown was fantastic in the 3:00 hour. You can check that out wherever you get your podcasts. Just search out the Sports Bar. It includes Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, the free to download Odyssey app, all of our guest appearances, all of our past shows. You can find them there. We've got some injury concerns here on the defensive side of the ball for the Buffalo Bills.
Not really surprised, right? Like you knew A.J. Epineza after he left the game after the interception, came back for one play, didn't work. You knew from Micah Hyde. I'm just wondering with Micah Hyde, is that it? Like he came back in and was back down. I mean, Micah Hyde is just grinding and just battling, and just to me, it looks like, all right, this is a player that I see him like trying to let's hang on here in these final weeks. So.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think it's the end.
I mean, he's going to battle and he'll get back on the field before the season's over, I would imagine. But, it wasn't ruled out that he could end up on IR.
Yeah, so with Hyde battling and Poyer, who signed the 1 year, well, actually it was 2, but Bills could get out from it. I just throwing this out there because there's going to be the Bills need a wide receiver, 1. They also are going to need a safety or 2.
What do you think Sean McDermott's going to lean towards? Where are they going to go in round 1?
Yeah.
They'll go defense. That would be my guess.
And that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to get a new safety back there that can because what is behind? I had high expectations for Taylor Rapp, and now I kind of see.
Yeah, he's a guy.
He's Dean Marlowe with a little more speed.
Sure.
That's it. Can deliver the big hit, sometimes too big a hit.
Mm-hmm.
And I could see why the Rams kind of moved on.
Which way are you leaning for Sunday?
Oh, it's you're not going to be happy, Bills fans, with this. I see this as a loss, but I see it as a big loss. And we'd like this is one where Josh turns the ball over a few times on a rainy afternoon, and this is a Cowboy team that will blow out Buffalo 38-17. I see the final score here. I see a regression to the mean for Buffalo in this game.
Again, you'll be able to hear the action on the Fan Rochester. Our pregame coverage gets underway at 12 noon Sunday. Oh, you don't have Joe Capogreco as your lead-in on Sunday. Sorry about that. Just a good Sunday tradition. Italian carousel. And then let's get into, Joe Capogreco. Why not? So there you go. The table is set for Sunday. We've got Amerks hockey tonight. They're playing in the mall. Hartford the opponent. Later tonight, it'll be the Sabres continuing their West Coast swing theirs after a disappointing loss to Colorado. It'll be the Vegas Golden Knights tonight, a familiar name, Jack Eichel, and the Knights hosting the Sabres. Devin Levi getting the start. That action gets underway at 10 o'clock tonight on CMF. Let's go to shots early so we can give enough time here for our guy Bobby Belt at closing time. Shots next in the sports bar?
Yeah, I'm just quick fact check here. The Civic Center Mall no longer exists.
Oh, it's not the mall?
No, it's not the mall.
But the arena's there.
The arena's there, so bummer.
And Nikki G sent me a text on the secret textosa reminding me that Midtown was the first urban mall development, downtown mall development in America.
Yeah. We have a lot of firsts in this town.
I don't know that I buy all of it. If you're selling it, I don't believe everything I read on the internet. So
we had the Jeffersons, we had the Royals.
Yeah, no.
I love.
Nice try, Gino.
We went to break, Danger, and like somebody, we did have an NBA team here.
I hope y'all know I'm being facetious. I hope you know I'm playing.
They don't.
Please, I hope you guys know. This is why you got to watch the stream, because if you watch the stream, you can see I've got a smirk on my face as I'm saying I'm not that dense. I'm dense, but I'm not that dense.
Well, how many... Is there another town that lost an NFL team, an NBA team, and a Subway? That's a trifecta there.
We are not what you would consider a growth market.
And a fast ferry to boot.
Yeah, we're not what you would consider a growth market. No.
Embarrassing.
We're the opposite of Nashville. We're the opposite of Vegas. We're the opposite of Austin. We're the antithesis of those markets.
It's, when you talk to somebody like, oh, yeah, he's an old soul. Yeah, we're an old soul.
Yeah, Rochester's an old soul. That's good. Shots next in the sports bar.
Yeah, so we've got the Amerks playing tonight. We've got the Sabres. I'm number game here. I'm gonna blow your mind here. Are things that bad for the Sabres? I will explain. There is a Section 5 guy we'll be watching tonight as the bowl season kicks off. Dangerous.
Okay.
SUNY Cortland. We'll give a little love for their alums here coming up, and also happy birthday to Taylor Swift. And in this story from Entertainment Tonight, it's like they are getting roasted.
It's Taylor Swift's birthday.
Oh, who cares?
Let me add that to my list of weekend Francesas. Maybe I'll come back on Monday and rattle off a list of weekend Francesas.
You weren't invited to her party, apparently.
No.
Oh, who cares?
No.
She had a party? Taylor Swift had a birthday party.
Oh, who cares?
If you had 60 seconds with Taylor Swift, would you say, "Hi, I'm Mike Danger. You don't know me, but you did try to get me fired once"?
Word on the street was she does know about me. That notoriously she does know about the guy in Rochester who was talking about her on Elon's Twitter. all
not
those years
bad
ago.
thing. Not bad. No, that's the thing. Not bad.
No,
That's
I
the
didn't
thing.
say
That's-
anything
yeah,
negative.
No.
Nothing. I can start if you'd like me to.
I don't want you fired.
Happy birthday.
She got Al fired, by the way.
Happy birthday to Taylor Swift.
Oh, who cares?
I'm going to add that to the list of Francesas. Weekend Francesas. Maybe I'll come back on Monday with a list.
Weekend Francesas, Taylor's birthday.
We'll get to shots next in the Sports Bar here on the Fan.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. Sports Update.
AJ Epinesa and Micah Hyde have both been ruled out for the game against the Cowboys Sunday. Taron Johnson practicing fully today. He's going to be okay for Sunday. Steph Diggs on his recent production.
For me personally, I've been trying, bro. I promise you I've been trying. It's not because of me, you know what I'm saying? But teams are doing a good job. We just got to continue to make plays and, I guess, spread the ball around. We've been winning so far. In a perfect world, I want the ball. I want to have success. And, you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, we winning games. That's what I got to tip my hat to.
4:25, the kickoff coming up on Sunday. We'll talk some Cowboy football later this hour. Bobby Belt, 105.3 The Fan in Dallas, to join us here in the Sports Bar. The Chargers today firing head coach Brandon Staley and GM Tom Telesco. Amerks in Hartford tonight. Don Stevens will have the call beginning at 7. Devin Levi expected to get the starting goal tonight for the Sabres, who are in Vegas. Gene Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Got a smart speaker at home? Listen to the sports leader, The Fan Rochester at home, by asking it to play 95.7 The Fan.
Yeah, I thought last game, right now I'll just talk from last game, I thought he ratcheted up a step last game. It's important this game he does the same thing, that we move in that direction, right? So I know the week is hard on him coming off of the game the week before. When you're coming off of a knee, that happens. And so it's getting him ready now for Sunday.
Sean McDermott talking about Von Miller, game he had against Kansas City, and what you'll obviously be expecting to see out of him against Dallas come Sunday. Welcome back to the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia, it's time for a round of shots on the Fan.
Yeah, here's a positive spin, right? The Sabres, how far are they out? They're 6 points out of the final wild card in the East. Still, they're not really good right now. Perhaps goalie-turned-commentator Henrik Lundqvist had the most concise take on the Sabres right now. Quote, they're not in a rebuild, but they're playing like they're in a rebuild.
Good point.
Yeah. Buffalo sees old friend Jack Eichel tonight, 10 o'clock on 96.5 WCMF. We'll have the Amherst game tonight. Team making their only appearance this season in Hartford, Don Stevens and Andrew Mossbrooks with the call beginning at 7 o'clock.
Hey, Andrew did some play-by-play in Springfield, did he not?
He did. He did the second period. I didn't catch it, but I'm just wondering, is this baton here, Don? Handing off here?
No,
I'm wondering.
You're giving some new voices here. That it's always a little bit when you hear a voice other than Don on an Amherst game. It always perks the ear up, even if it's just somebody new doing color.
Yeah, it's always kind of like the wheel of color commentator. Like, oh, hey, tonight it's Brian Duff. That's good to hear.
Oh, there's Gene Battaglia.
I got one. They didn't invite me back. To the fact where like Emily from the Amherst is putting it out there. Hey, anybody want to do this game? I'm like, oh, okay. I'm available.
You're a play-by-play guy.
I am. It's tough.
You're a play-by-play guy.
Yeah, it's tough.
Tough doing color.
Yeah. Local tie-in for tonight's Division III National Championship game in football. Canandaigua's Cody Akey, starting tackle for Cortland. They take on North Central. SUNY Cortland, the first school from the Empire 8 to play for the national championship. Kicking off the bowl season tonight, 7 o'clock on ESPNU. Then tomorrow, 7 games in college football, beginning with the Myrtle Beach Bowl. Danger taking place in Myrtle Beach. Georgia Southern against Ohio, 11 a.m. on ABC tomorrow night. It's the L.A. Bowl. I think Gronk is hosting this. UCLA and Boise State at SoFi.
Oh, who cares?
There's 3 NFL games tomorrow. These bowl games don't stand a chance. The Myrtle Beach Bowl.
Oh, who cares?
Okay.
Giant Francesas.
Danger.
Yes.
From an action standpoint, a lot of people will be playing along, thinking that, that's the reason there's all these bowl games.
I understand.
Interesting strategy by the Golden State Warriors. Rather than get upset and wave their finger at Draymond Green for another suspension, they're offering guidance. Steph Curry says he wants Green, quote, and this sounds like it was crafted by a PR person, on a path that's going to allow him to be who he needs to be as a person, as a man, as a father, and as a husband, and as a basketball player in that order.
Can he just be a nut on the court and be all those other things off the court?
No, you can't punch players. You can't stomp on players. Green is a little out of control.
On the court.
On the court, he is.
Off the court, is he a bad father because he's that way on the court?
Yeah, that's where I'm wondering where that quote I don't know.
I mean, do you think if it because I don't know. I don't know what he's like off the court. If he's a bad man off the court, if he's a bad husband, a bad father, if he's a bad guy, but I don't get the sense that that's who he is. I get the sense that he's Charles Barkley. I get the sense that he's setting himself up for a long career after basketball.
That's also part of this. I think the stomping thing is bad, but go watch NBA highlights from the 1980s. I mean, honestly, it was a contact sport back then. And Charles Barkley spitting on a girl. I mean, Charles Barkley was like this behavior, and look where he is today.
That's right. And that's all I see when I see Draymond Green now. When I hear the antics and I see the antics, I'm like, okay. I mean, he might be a bad guy on the court. He might get all this negative attention and do all these horrible things that you don't want to see in the league. But ultimately, it doesn't. I don't know that means he's a bad guy off the court. That quote from Curry makes it sound like he's a recovering addict and he needs to get, like, my God,
maybe there's more that we don't know. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah. Warriors at home tomorrow against Brooklyn. Tonight, 8 games in the NBA. Boston hosting Orlando. The doubleheader on ESPN has the Lakers in San Antonio at 7:30. The Spurs are running an 18-game losing streak.
We want greatness.
Come on, keep this going.
Yep.
We like Wembanyama. Yeah, you're good, but don't be making the game-winning shot here.
ABC, Spurs.
Always be closing.
We want winners. We want you to continue to lose. If you're going to lose spectacularly.
Speaking, we were talking about Terry Pegula and red wine. How much wine is Pop drinking these days? 18-game losing streak. I mean, it's like... That's a bottle a night, right?
Reach for greatness, San Antonio.
The Knicks also playing in Phoenix. That game on ESPN tonight as well. That's the late game. There's no such city as Tampa Bay. I think we all know this. Tampa Bay is merely a body of water in the Gulf of Mexico, named after the city of Tampa. Well, the baseball team, the Rays, they don't play in Tampa. In fact, not anywhere close. So the St. Petersburg City Council passed a resolution for a name change. The St. Petersburg Rays is what they want them called.
Gross.
After all, they're the ones footing a bill on a new stadium. Does this have any chance of passing?
It's gross.
The answer is no. The team being very direct in their message, quote, there will not be a new ballpark nor development project if there's a requirement to change our franchise's name.
Good. What? St. Pete. Somebody in St. Pete just got way over their skis, got really, really big mad over the fact that, they're spending all this money. They should be St. Pete Rays. Get out of here.
I've never been to St. Petersburg, okay? So, but as somebody who was never, my perception is that's where, that's old. I don't know, that's the place you want to go to when you're down in Florida.
That's all of Florida's heaven's waiting room. I mean, what are you talking about? Yeah.
There we go. Side note, the Rays traded 2 of their better players. Look, great, good for baseball. Yeah, we can't afford you. Pitcher Tyler Glasnow and outfielder Manuel Margot. And last check, that was not yet official.
Okay.
Finally, happy birthday to Taylor Swift.
It's Taylor Swift's birthday today?
Oh, who cares?
It was actually yesterday, but throwing herself a party in New York.
Kind of a Swiftie am I if I don't know what her birthday is.
Oh, who cares?
You care about this, though. Okay, no Travis Kelce.
Ooh.
The entertainment tonight is getting roasted for this.
No Travis Kelce at her birthday?
Let me read verbatim from Entertainment Tonight. Quote, Travis Kelce was noticeably absent during Taylor Swift's 34th birthday celebration in New York City, but for a good reason. A source tells ET that he remains committed to playing his best and doing his best on and off the field. The team practices are critical, mandatory to attend, and something he takes very seriously. So it's no surprise he stayed in Kansas City this weekend's game.
It's great. It's all true. That statement makes all the sense in the world.
Why would you need a source? Team practices are mandatory.
ET doesn't understand football. They have to lay it out for the people that don't watch football, don't understand. These guys are crazy. During the season, you can't be around them. You can't talk to them. You can't take any of their time until the bye week. That's it. You set boundaries in a relationship early, right?
Yeah.
And I have no problem with this. If you're Taylor Swift and you have a problem with Travis Kelce not being at your birthday, sorry, sweetheart. Deal with it. We're in the season, and my team needs me here.
like honestly, the expectation. I'm not going to practice. I'm going to my girlfriend's
Could you
birthday
imagine?
party.
Could you imagine? No, there's no scenario where that is acceptable. Zero. No chance.
No, that's why. All right, we haven't had. But where would you put the over/under here? They're not living happily ever after, right? I would say 1 year from now. And I would actually go, it would be sooner than that. And here's why. Because they'll get to the off season. All of a sudden, he's going to start going around. They're going to spend more time together. And you're going to realize, oh, wait, I'm not too down with that. Not too down with that. When you spend more time with somebody. But when you get back to the, hey, it's training camp next year, and I'll see a hun like every once in a while, like that's when
they'll get tired of each other's S, and then it'll be done. They'll just be around each other enough where they get tired of each other's crap, and then it'll be over. And that'll be it. Look, I want everybody to find their person. I want everybody to experience joy and happiness in their life, except for maybe Taylor Swift. I'm kidding. I know she's got people listening. That was a joke. I'm not really. I know she bugged the studio. They're going to be fine.
Clip on the Odyssey app.
Gene, they're going to be fine. I really, honestly, good. He's working. She's partying in New York City. And honestly,
who cares?
Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
If you're going to do the Francesas, is that number one on the list? Yeah.
It was a big one earlier this week when we did the year-end recap. Let's get to Bobby Belt for last call next. He's our Dallas Cowboys insider at 105.3 The Fan in Dallas, our Odyssey Sports sister station. And we'll get one last peek out of Dallas before the matchup on Sunday in Orchard Park against the Bills here on The Fan.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
I have a great admiration for his game. To be able to play at such a high level for such a long time, the habits he probably has, the amount of preparation he puts into it, how he handles and takes care of his body. In addition to that, so just very aware football player that uses great technique, and he certainly knows what routes are coming. It seems like in certain situations.
Bills head coach Sean McDermott on Cowboys corner Stephon Gilmore, former Buffalo Bill, and just one of the many problems on the docket for the Buffalo Bills come Sunday with those Cowboys coming to Orchard Park. Before we close up shop in the Sports Bar, we welcome in from our Odyssey Sports sister station, Cowboys Insider for 105.3 The Fan in Dallas, Bobby Belt making his first stop into the Sports Bar. Bobby, we've been talking about this matchup all week long. I know a lot of Cowboys fans are waiting for the next shoe to drop and waiting for the disappointment that seems inevitable. Man, I'm telling you, I have a hard time finding anything to not like about this Cowboys team. Where is this team heading into Buffalo?
It's interesting. They, if you're looking for one thing that they don't do well or that people are still waiting for an answer on, this would be one of those games. I think that people feel like when they've gone up against some of the top-tier competition, when they go up against the cream of the crop, that they have a tendency to lose on details when it comes to close games late. And so, San Francisco throttled them earlier this year on the road. They lost on the road to a bad Arizona team by double digits. They've lost on the road to Philadelphia in a game where they felt like they outplayed the Eagles. But again, when it came down to close, narrow margins, they lost because they lost on all the little things that mattered. And so I think in a game that's expected to be close, on the road against a good football team, this is a good test for the Cowboys and Cowboys fans to look and say, okay, is this team legitimate? Have they corrected some of these issues? Because they haven't been caught in a lot of these close games lately.
Oh, no. No worries. Let me introduce you to Sean McDermott here. I don't know if you saw the Monday night, 12 men on the field. We name our losses here, whether that's 13 seconds, win game, 12 men on the field. Bobby, I'm curious.
Just real quick, I'd like to point out, we do have 20 years of history with a guy named Mike McCarthy here that I think there's plenty of clock management and detail issues.
Okay, but Bobby, you got to say, Gene, I'm sorry to cut you off, but you have to say this year, and I've seen it as an outsider looking in, Mike McCarthy looks more dialed in than I've ever seen him in the job that he's done with that offense and specifically with Dak Prescott. I mean, he has to be somebody, he's not going to get it, but he has to be considered coach of the year.
Ooh, you may have picked the wrong person to come on here and defend McCarthy. So I think that when you look at the first 5-6 weeks of the season, it was a bad, like clunky offense. It was not working. I think they got into the San Francisco game, and some of the players have talked about it, that they said we had to change some things up. And I think what occurred was that Mike McCarthy realized, okay, we got to kind of go back to some of what they're doing. They've gone back to playing a lot of the concepts in the last 8 weeks that they were using last year with Kellen Moore. But Kellen Moore, by the way, the last Cowboys quarterback to start a game in Buffalo back in 2015. Mm-hmm. That was the last time they were around there. But I think that Mike McCarthy deserves credit for not being stubborn and locking in on some of the stuff he was trying to do earlier this season. But I honestly think a lot of what you're seeing at this point is players just being allowed to do what makes them comfortable. So I think he deserves credit for that. But the biggest question that he still has to answer is what happens when you're playing a tight game? Because when they've been in these close, tight football games, it's not, they tend to give over to the other team. And so now I know Sean McDermott, like you said, he's got his own issues late in game and game management and things like that. But I still think that there's a reason why Buffalo is a slight favorite in this game.
So the longest tenured quarterback in the league is actually Dak Prescott. And, Bobby, I just always viewed Dak Prescott as being good, but when you're talking about elite, he was never in, the conversation. How could he be? He's never been to it. So what is it in his game that is elevated to this level? Because, Bobby, honestly, Cowboys win, he's got to be the favorite here for the MVP, especially it's going to be his if they end up with the number 1 seed.
Yeah, I've always been a really big believer in Dak. If you take from the time they traded for Amari Cooper which was middle of 2018. Now, obviously, he's had some injuries through there. He had the broken leg. He had the calf injury in the past, the broken thumb, different stuff over those times. But we went back and tracked this week, actually. If you take from that point when they traded for Amari Cooper to today, then in games where Dak Prescott plays, the Cowboys over that entire 5-year stretch have the number one scoring offense and the number one offense in terms of yards in the entire NFL. That's included with Buffalo, Kansas City, whoever. And so I think Dak has always been one of the highest performers. Last year, the interceptions were a big problem. A lot of those were on him. I think there were a lot of issues also communication with the receivers, not knowing what to do on option routes. There were different points where balls were tipped in the air and picked off. But I think this is just what you tend to see with quarterbacks. Quarterback is a weird position in that when you hit 30, whereas, a running back or maybe even a receiver starts to trend down a little bit, quarterbacks tend to play their best ball into their early 30s because it's where, their physical attributes aren't necessarily, arm strength doesn't go down that quickly compared to other traits like speed for other positions. And you've seen so much football and your IQ gets so much higher that it's this perfect blend, and you see quarterbacks play really, really well at this point. So I just think Dak Prescott's at this point in his career where physically he's still near the top of his game, but the IQ, the mentals have hit their peak, and it's combined into what is, a borderline MVP season at this point, right up there with Brock Purdy and Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson.
Bobby, you've got a lot of injuries on the Bills' defense heading into this game. There have been injuries that they've been dealing with all year, and then you've also got new injuries in Micah Hyde and A.J. Epineza, both going to be missing on Sunday. And the one player on the Cowboys' offense that I'm nervous about, I think could have a big game based on what we've seen from this Bills' defense through the course of the season. It's Ferguson. It's the tight end. If he's shown and demonstrated, and I think he has, the ability to find the soft spots of a defense's zone, he could feast on Sunday. Is that an accurate assessment of his game? Do you think he has that ability? Has he figured that out here this year with the Cowboys?
Yeah, they've been really impressed with Jake Ferguson and the leap that he's taken, and he is a guy who, you're right, he does pick his spots in zone really well. One of the things that has really elevated his game this year is the ability to challenge the seam and find that, soft spot in the middle of the defense. And Dak has thrown that pass really comfortably to him this year. I know that they've been, if you were to ask them a year ago, because I asked them a year ago. I asked, coaches, scouts, everybody about, Jake Ferguson when they picked him. They liked him, but they had no idea that he would be the type of athlete that he's been here and the type of contributor he is here. And I'll tell you that is the guy most likely to get involved in a fight on Sunday. So if you see a Cowboys player get mixed up in something, there's a good shot it's going to be Jake Ferguson right in the middle of it. So he's scrappy, he's tough, he's very athletic, smart football player, and a guy who's got a really, really strong connection with Dak Prescott. And at this point, we started talking about the kind of weapons that there are on offense. For a lot of people, it goes CeeDee Lamb as number one, obviously, and then it's Jake Ferguson. But that is the next most important weapon on the offense.
Bobby Belt, 105.3 The Fan in Dallas, our Odyssey sister station. Bobby, during the game Sunday night, watching it, and Collinsworth says something where he originally no, that can't be true. And then you thought about it, I'm like, no, that might be right. Stephon Gilmore, like a future Hall of Famer. And you look at the resume that he has, and if he gets a championship or who knows here, my question is about Gilmore this year, because normally this isn't the life cycle of a corner. He burned brightly. He was great here, but the Bills didn't pay him, goes to New England, and sure enough, he's the Defensive Player of the Year. And then, okay, he's getting older and whatever. But now he's playing at this level. How has he been able to kind of raise his game, Bobby?
So he's so smart, and he's such a high IQ corner. The speed isn't quite there the same. He doesn't have the long speed. He doesn't run as well as he once did. So there's still times where you'll see him a little vulnerable in coverage. But, man, he is such a smart, sharp football player. He's willing to get physical. And last week it was funny. He told everybody after the game that was his best game, was last week against the Eagles. And he said that what really locked him in was early in the first quarter, A.J. Brown called him old, that he trash-talked him on the field and told him he was, all right, old man, and that's what just lit a fire under Stephon Gilmore. And I think that what they've gotten from Gilmore and the stability that he's been able to provide, and obviously what Deron Bland's done with everything, and the interceptions and the pick sixes this year, has provided so much stability for them at corner with Trayvon Diggs out. And so I think Gilmore has just been a huge resource, not just with his level of play, but just his knowledge base and what he's been able to share with Deron Bland along the way.
Bobby, what about the Bills' offense makes you nervous going up against Dan Quinn's defense?
Honestly, we were talking about it all this week. I think everybody who watches the Cowboys recognizes that there's a lot of nervous energy about James Cook. I honestly don't know how they're going to eliminate him or neutralize him. I think that James Cook is the exact type of runner that gives the Cowboys problems. The Cowboys, for all the talk of how good their defense has been the last couple of years, one of the things that they consistently have trouble with is they do get gashed in the run from time to time. And it's not going to get any better this week. Jonathan Hankins has been a massive addition for them from middle of last year at the trade deadline in terms of improving their run defense. And it's been shown when he's off the field, they have trouble. And the linebackers aren't able to be kept clean. Blockers are able to get up to them on the second level. So I think missing Jonathan Hankins in this game is huge, especially for what James Cook does. But the other thing is they have routinely shown issues covering running backs who, are able to run those wheel routes, or like he did last week, get in the slot, run the seam route. I don't know that they've got somebody who can handle what he does in the pass game and what he is as a runner. And so I think James Cook is the biggest worry to me. And similar to what you guys are looking at, I think those tight ends could give them problems. Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox. I think those are guys who could challenge the Cowboys. I think that I feel pretty comfortable about, what they've been able to do, or what they'll be able to do with, some of the passing attack with the receivers. I think that they match up fairly well with Diggs. I think they match up fairly well with Davis. But I think the tight ends and the running back give me some concern, and obviously just the way that Josh Allen can extend plays and cause trouble for you when the play breaks down.
Bobby, it's great catching up with you. Let's do this again sometime. We really appreciate you carving out some time for us, and have a great weekend, bud. We'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Bobby Belt, you can hear him on our Odyssey Sports sister station 105.3, The Fan in Dallas. Dallas Cowboys insider for The Fan in Dallas. Appreciate him stopping by here at Last Call.
Monday, a lot of Bills Cowboys reaction. Mike Catalana and Nate Geary, full show lined up on Monday.
It's going to be great. And tonight, we've got your Amerks hockey right here on The Fan as the team is in Hartford taking on the Wolfpack. 7 o'clock, Don Stevens will be by with the call. Sabres tonight, later on CMF, 10 o'clock, as they're in Vegas taking on the Golden Knights. If you missed Bobby Belt just now, if you missed Thad Brown from earlier, Odyssey Rewind inside the free-to-download Odyssey app lets you go back and listen to any part of the show that you may have missed, or search out the Sports Bar wherever you get your shows, wherever you get your podcasts. You'll find all of our past shows. You'll find all of our guest appearances, including Thad Brown, News 8 sports director, who stopped by in the 3 o'clock hour this afternoon to give us his thoughts on Sunday's matchup between the Bills and the Cowboys, a game you'll be able to hear Sunday afternoon with our pregame coverage getting underway at 12 noon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. CBS Sports Radio next on The Fan.